Hello everybody, welcome to round 2 of season 10 of Apex Rear Wing here in the Opala Stock Cars. Tonight we have left the wide open tarmac of Mendig Flugplatz for the tight concrete confines of Surfers Paradise. Just a stone's throw over to the left there you can see the sunny beaches of the Gold Coast, but our eyes are going to be on this twisty street circuit that our runners are going to be hooning around in very old Brazilian stock cars. I am Liam Harrison, better known as Madbird, and I'm joined as ever by my partner in crime, Matty Dunlop. How the bloody hell are you, Matty?
I'm bloody fantastic. G'day, mate. G'day, everyone watching as well. Chime in the chat if you're watching along. Say g'day. We are at round 2 of Apex Rear Wing Season 10, and it is the Chevrolet Opala Stock Cars here at Surfers Paradise, as you were mentioning. I've been spending a lot of the practice session watching all sorts of drivers from all walks of life slamming these things into the walls as hard as they possibly can at some points, because it's just such a slippery track. They're very slippery cars, and it's, the margins for error are very slim to none, aren't they, Madbird?
Slim to none is a very good way of putting it, but someone who doesn't have anything slim, that's a weird sentence, is Zirus, who is in the lead of the championship after taking out both wins last week. But of course, Brenton Foley did take the fight to him in the second race especially, so only 30 points shy of him there. And 30 points again back to Sam Smith, who unfortunately won't be joining us tonight. So if the Sam clan are in attendance, you're going to have to pick someone else to barrack for. Birdo in 4th, Resist in 5th, Roadhog, Bagsy, Rambo, NetherRealmian, and Goofball Antics round out our top 10. And we do have a couple of extra runners tonight that we didn't have last time out, don't we, Matty?
We certainly do. So one of those runners is Scott Murrell, who is currently in the pit lane, having just dropped back. He is in a wildcard car at the moment. It's the first time I think we've seen him in Apex Rear Wing, Madbird.
Yeah, we know him from back when, especially when me and Stairs used to commentate the Automobilista the Automobilista Australia Supercars races. He was a pretty regular contender in that, and he's hopped in one of the wildcard entries for tonight to have a bit of a bash around in these 80s cars, so very good to have him along. And we also have Rody, that is Rody with an RHO, who is currently in the pits, but was not available last time because he was finishing off another championship. I think it might have been the Group A cars at AMS Oz, so good to have him along. And we've got, at the moment, 12 runners in the server, but we are expecting Bagsy to hop in as well a bit later. And we've already got some Rody fans in the chat, and of course a Hans fan, Hans not being one of the drivers here tonight.
Indeed. So we've got 12 cars at the moment out on practice at the moment, and yeah, so you'll see Rody in that PBF Race Engineering Caltex styled car, very reminiscent of, I think it was the Red Bull Sandown V8 supercar from either last year or the year before. It's a similar livery to what Brenton Foley is running in the same team here. Slight differences between those cars. You'll see basically similar kind of vibe there. You can see the nose of it just poking out of the pit garage, just inching a little bit close to the yellow line. He's desperate to get out on the track, I'm sure, but maybe he's out the back having a cup of tea or something.
He's got a big Caltex logo on his bonnet, whereas Foley's got a big Red Bull logo on his bonnet. So they are pretty distinguishable. There is Brenton Foley, who's currently sitting second, about 2/10 of a second shy of Zirus. So not too much margin there between the two favourites from last week.
Yeah, it's been pretty back and forth between these two in terms of lap times in the practice session. Zirus has been leading most of it, but Brenton Foley was up by a fair bit a little bit earlier in the session, and they've been trading times back and forth, and the margin is 0.186 of a second between their fastest laps at the moment, which is pretty dang close, and hopefully it means we should see a pretty competitive qualifying session coming up pretty soon. It always is competitive, of course.
Obviously. One thing to mention is that they have been struggling a bit with track cuts during the practice sessions. So we saw last time out at Mendig that there are, I think, 3 drivers got track cuts during their qualifying. Of course, we are doing shootout style qualifying this season, so if you get a track cut, then that's your lot, I'm afraid, and you're to the back of the queue. So that could very easily become a factor during the qualifying session, which should be kicking off in about 7 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. We've had a few drivers talking about how easy it is to track cut, especially on some of these chicanes around this place. Even if you're within the tyre bundles, you'll still hit track cuts every now and then. So that could be disastrous for some people's qualifyings. And the races are a little bit longer than the first race that we had last week. We are running a super sprint format, which, despite the name, isn't shorter than the regular sprint. It's actually a little bit longer. 2 30-minute races here tonight. And that extra little bit of length is going to make these guys especially be really wary of how many times they're cutting across the track there, because if you get 3 track cuts, that's your final warning. 4 or any more than that, and you get a drive-through penalty for each and every one, which is a big sting around a short circuit like this.
It really is. It is quite a short lap, so 1 minute and 20 seconds or thereabouts. Currently the fastest, as you can see there, is Xeris with a 1:21.1. So spending, even 20 seconds tootling along the pit lane at very slow speeds is going to be very painful.
I'm not sure what the pit lane speed limit here is, actually. I'm not sure. I didn't really check, but I'm guessing if it's a supercars track, it'll probably be 40 k's an hour. I'll have to confirm that as the race goes on, of course, but that'll make it even slower, and it's a pretty long pit lane as well, built for 25, 30 cars. Xeris, so I'm just going to check what his speed is as he comes out, and he seems to have flaunted all speed restrictions as he goes to the line, so that is inconclusive.
Yeah, usually they don't worry too much about it during practice and warm-ups. However, I can imagine that, and these cars also, of course, don't have pit speed limiters, so they have to manually hold the speed as they're going through the pit lane, which can be a struggle for some of them. And I think we saw last week a couple of drive-through penalties as a result of pit lane speeding infringements. Just getting a bit of warning there in the chat. Oh, as we've just seen, that was a beautifully timely prover of Hans B's comment in the chat, just saying don't hit the tyre bundles here, they're filled with concrete. And as you can see, Xeris coming along the long back straight into the back chicane, misses the first one, gets nice and Larry on the curb, misses the second one, and then the third one just taps it ever so slightly, and those tyres aren't going anywhere. His car, however, is going all over the bloody place.
Goofball Antics posted a pretty stern warning in the group Slack before the race started. He said, beware around surfers. If you clip the tyre bundles through the S's on the back straight, chances are you're going to flip, as we are seeing right here on the screen, ladies and gentlemen. Also, he managed to get a track cut on the second apex there while staying inside the tyre bundle, which is what I mentioned earlier. So it may be a weird anomaly, but it may also be something that drivers have to be careful of.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the sort of track where I feel like the ultimate pace is going to be a lot faster than the race laps we're going to be seeing, because when you've got 30 minutes to do in a row and you don't have the luxury of exiting back to pit lane and coming back out again with fresh tyres, people are probably going to be quite a bit more careful through those chicanes.
It'll be a battle of who dares wins. Whoever gets more comfortable and whoever's more daring around the chicanes is going to have more pace through the better part of this lap, because there are a decent amount of chicanes or chicanery style action all the way around this circuit. Not as much as the old IndyCar layout, which used to go quite a bit longer and was dotted with the things all over the place. But they're still a very prevalent part of this track, as we're about to see Goofball Antics coming into turn 1 there around the pit exit. And he got very close to that exit wall. Did well to stay off it, as a matter of fact. We're going to be seeing a lot of sliding through there, particularly when the drivers are under pressure from somebody behind.
Yeah, absolutely. That one luckily doesn't have any tyre bundles. It's just little, I don't know what you call them, bollards, I guess, that you can go straight through. So that one's quite a lot more forgiving than this back one. We're about to see Xeris and Resist go through once again. So, that is Zarlinger in the teal-coloured Black Flag Industries Racing. Sorry, not even Black Flag Industries. I'm on an absolute roll tonight. They are USSR Racing, sorry, which I believe is United Somalian and the Union of Somalia and Slavs Republic. So very, very good. Very good indeed.
Don't know if you noticed, Zarlinger very slightly clipped the wall on the exit of that turn 10 chicane there. Almost spun himself around, as a matter of fact. So that was a pretty close moment for him, as Xeris smokes one rear tyre heading out of the final corner. I think these things have open differentials, so even when you run off onto the extension of the street, for instance, at turn 4 or turn 11, where you've got a little bit of runoff. If you go a little bit beyond, it's very hard to turn these things around because you don't have that a limited slip differential as such. It's pretty open, so you've got to do you have to perform an expertly crafted skid to be able to rotate that thing quickly and efficiently.
Well, we do know that a couple of these guys are very good at skidding, one of them being Brenton Foley, who hasn't managed to make any more inroads to that time of Xeris's, but I think they all sort of look like they're doing some safe laps at the moment. They're all trying to set in some bankers in this practice session, as we see Birdo copping some air over those back chicane. Those back chicanes. They're not like fish. I don't think. I think the plural of chicane is chicanes, not just a singular chicane. I don't know why I've gone so deep on this. Xeris actually up on his time though, so he hasn't looked particularly impressive. So he's proving that old adage that clean or smooth is clean, slow is clean, clean is smooth, and smooth is fast. Someone who's not smooth or fast, Scott Marrell. Sorry, that was a little bit hard. He is currently sitting in 6th, so he's no slouch. I do take that back. At that particular moment, he wasn't going particularly quickly or particularly smoothly.
Baptism of fire. It's his first race in Apex Rear when he cops a zinger like that from you, Mad Bird. And Xeris
before the race even starts.
Before the race even started, indeed. So he'll want to be hoping, for the sake of his commentary rap, that he'll be getting a little bit better than that by the time the race rolls around. Xeris did indeed post a 120.849. So he is the first driver into the 120 bracket as we inch ever so close to the end. And there's Brenton Foley proving my point from earlier. He's had to pull reverse gear to get out of that little pickle, as a matter of fact. We're just seeing a replay now. So that's coming off the first chicane into turn number 4. Jumps on the brakes a little bit too late, and he's run it wide. He's going to try and rotate the car. Or is he? I'm not sure what he's going to try and do. His Zarlinger's going to follow him in an act of sympathy. And that's just nice, isn't it? And he's had to engage reverse gear because he just can't get these things turned around.
I can see in the Discord that Bagsy has joined us, so we'll have 13 runners for the shootout. Hans B just saying, how good was the J turn from Murrell though? It was poetry, I must admit. It was very, very well executed. So we're just watching him peel around the last few corners of this racetrack as the practice session has wound down and he disappears from our screens. So we are about ready to hop into the qualifying session, Matty.
We certainly are. So it's a top 10 shootout in reverse order of practice results. And I don't actually remember who was finishing bottom of that practice session. I imagine it was Rhodey, but if Bagsy's jumping in, then it'll be Bagsy. He'll be starting the shootout first.
I was about to say, but then you corrected yourself before I could correct you, which is an incredibly good strategy. So he's not actually in the server as of yet, so it might be they have to start off without him, but generally they'll let you, if you do rock up late, then you'll usually hop in and do yours when you do get in. So, but we do have Rhodey already out on track, so it looks like he's going to be starting us off with the first of our shootout laps, just waiting for the lights to go green.
Who knows, maybe Bagsy will luck out and jump in just for the race and he'll be get planted in front of everybody who track cut once again, as we saw in the first race, which was very odd to say the least, and he certainly capitalised on it and finished pretty well. And Rhodey's got the green light. He's taking out on his reconnaissance lap now.
He is. Now, I did notice just before, Matty, that you said exiting turn 4, heading towards the hairpin. So the map that you happen to be looking at, if you are indeed looking at a map, not operating off of memory, it counts that chicane as turns 1, 2, and 3, does it?
It certainly does, and I flubbed my words. So you're actually exiting turn 3 to go to the hairpin, which is turn 4. So that is a mistake on my English language skills.
That's very good. Just the particular map that I've gotten from Wikipedia is much more lax with what it defines as a corner, which usually I would be on board with, but I think it's almost gone too far the other direction, in that the chicanes aren't counted as all as corners. So what you would call turn 4, this map calls turn 2. So
I see.
so I may defer to you for corner numbering tonight.
I think I like that format better because, yeah, you do sort of treat chicanes as a single corner experience, if you will. But that back chicane where you go left, right, left is a little bit weirder because you don't. There's a bit of a grey area there. According to my map, I've got 15 total corners on this track.
Yeah, my map has my map has 9, so there's a bit of a discrepancy there, but we'll get on with it. As is Rhodes, starting his Rhodey. Do apologise. Benjamin Rhodes, also known as Rhodey, starting his lap. And Josh Bagsy has entered the server in his horrifying Fortnite-inspired car, so he will be doing his shootout run second after Rhodey.
So Rhodey's looking pretty clean through the hairpin there, through turn 4. That little kink is on my map is marked as turn 5, and it's 25.840 at the first sector split. I don't actually have a benchmark in front of me as to how fast that is in comparison to what Xeris is doing in practice, but I'm sure it'll probably unfold. Probably not vary is the voice I'm hearing in my ear. Thank you for your confident stares. And I'm sure that the story will unfold in qualifying and what those splits mean as the session wears on. And he's coming on down to what I've got as turn 11 onto Breaker Street, as it would be known by Gold Coast City Council, I imagine. Bit of a slide there through turn 11.
Yep, so the fastest first sector that Xeris was able to pull out was a 23.1, just for reference. So a couple of seconds in it. Let's see if Rhodey can claw it back over the rest of the lap.
He's got one corner to go. Do you reckon he can claw back what would now be around 6 seconds?
He would have to get an incredibly good run off of that last corner. I'm not sure if he's managed it. I was looking at it, I was going, oh, well, all of his sectors are purple, and then I realised, well, he is, of course, the first driver out on track. But
and he's on provisional pole.
He is on provisional pole, and, I mean, more importantly, he has set a lap time, which I imagine we're going to have a few corner cuts, which, of course, will invalidate those laps. So he might very well not be starting at the rear of the grid. So a good banker there for Rhodey, and we turn our attention now to this. Josh Bagsy's Midas, who I'm led to believe is a Fortnite character, and I also am led to believe that a 6-year-old designed this livery for Bagsy. Bagsy was the one that compiled it and put it together, made the dream a reality, but it was a 6-year-old's dream that he was recreating.
Well, personally, I'd like to commend that 6-year-old on their artistic vision. It certainly is. And we're just seeing Bagsy come out of the back chicane there, pretty neat and tidy. Probably didn't take it as quick as he could have, but he's kept it out of the wall. He's kept it out of track limits, or in track limits, I should say. So he's looking pretty good so far to be able to put a lap down, but he is down on Rhodey's time at the second sector split. He was up slightly through the first sector, so he's actually lost about 3/10 in the second sector alone. So maybe that lack of speed through the chicane has affected him a lot more than he would have thought it would. Through the final couple of corners now for Josh Bagsy, he rounds that weird little double apex thing there, charges onto the main straight, and he's got the pedal all the way to the floor as he heads towards the grid spots and up to the control line. What is the time going to be? It is going to be a 1 minute 27.082. He's up half a second on Rhodey.
So he gained that 0.5 of a second entirely in that last sector, which is quite impressive. Very well done to him. Tyrrell, we turn our attention to now in the Jeff Rader Racing number 19. So let's see what Jeff Vader Racing is the name of the team. I'm not sure why Stairs is grunting in my ear.
You did say Rader Racing.
Oh my goodness. Well, don't mind me with my spoonerism. The 6-year-old was not Lando Norris. I'm led to believe, Hans B. If Bagsy has contact with Lando Norris, I'd like to think he'd share that with us. But possibly not. He can be a bit like that. Tyrrell.
Yeah, blame in the server.
Tyrrell managing to negotiate that back set of chicanes quite well.
And looking pretty good and tidy through that apex. You've got to sort of put it a little bit close to the wall because you do understeer quite a bit in these cars, and he's actually up 0.2 of a second, so he's looking pretty good. It's a sort of a Monaco strategy. We have to turn a little bit into the wall because that momentum is going to understeer you across the face of the track surface. So it evens out and you end up hitting the apex quite nicely, but also tyre wear will be something you'll need to factor in when it comes to the race pace itself. So different strategies in terms of driving between the qualifying and the race, as you may expect, but it's a little bit more pronounced in these cars here, especially with the pit stops that we need to take in the races. Tyrrell's coming down the main straight now, and he's looking at a pretty quick time. It's going to be a 1:27.715, and he's actually lost a heap of time in the final sector. He's down in provisional third.
That's a bugger. Bad exit. Looked like he ran very wide going through the last corner. So that's just shows on these sort of tracks where you've got a very, very long start-finish straight. You want to really nail that last corner. Let's see if Rambo's managed to do that for his outlap. So nice and smooth through the first chicane, not bothering those curbs at all. But you know what they say, smooth is clean, clean is slow, and slow is fast.
Yep.
Or some combination of those words.
Slow is fast indeed. Something along the lines of winning as slowly as possible is the strategy, and Rambo is currently going quite quick in this qualifying session. It's a 0.433 is the margin in the first sector alone. So let's see if he can carry that momentum through the chicane. He's up on two wheels through all of those, and that looks very neat and tidy indeed. You can see the massive amount of body roll these cars carry on the exit of the chicane there, even when he's sitting in what looks to be a relatively straight line, and he's gone straight into the fence.
Oh, he has lost a tyre. It looks like he's going to try to continue on, but that car is not going to want to turn to the left, and indeed goes directly off and into the escape road. He was up by 1.3 seconds.
Even with three tyres, he was up 1.3 seconds.
Even with three tyres after his collision with the wall, which we're going to see in gorgeous slow motion here as our producer Stairs puts his craft to work. Look at it go. Beautiful. And we've got F's in the chat from Scott Nolan and Matty Dunlop, of course, telling everyone pull out your F's, which, you know, could be a worrying sentence, but in this instance it's okay. Zarlinger, it
does sound like a euphemism, doesn't it?
It really does. Zarlinger begins his lap, so Rambo, the first of our runners not to set a lap time. I honestly was expecting a bit more, and I thought that was going to be much worse than it was. But maybe he can be the second of our runners not to set a lap time. Not to put the moz on him, but
he's still up despite hitting that wall on the exit of the chicane. So he must have carried quite a bit of pace through the rest of that lap, and we'll have to see if he can actually carry that through the rest of the chicane. The chicane is really the big pinch point in terms of lap times, isn't it? Nice little bit of two-wheeled action there on the exit there for Zarlinger. So when he comes down to the split between the next corner and the one immediately succeeding that one, we'll see what he's looking like at the moment. And it is currently, the sector split's a little bit later than I would have thought. 1.1 seconds up. Nice tidy little margin. Is he going to throw it away in the third sector like everybody else seems to be doing?
Well, for his sake, let's hope not. I do agree with you. I think the amount of confidence that you have with carrying speed through those chicanes is going to be the big difference between the wheat and the chaff. And Zarlinger, with a tidy exit onto the start-finish straight, is looking like he's going to be setting a decent lap time and hopefully getting himself onto provisional pole. And it is a 1:26.3, so the first of our 26s. 7/10 of a second ahead of Josh Bagsy. So Zarlinger puts himself in the best position he can manage. And our eyes now turn to Netherelmian in the Outworld Racing Team Opala Stock Car.
So Nether didn't really get a huge amount of practice in, so he's not going to have that fresh experience that the rest of the blokes had. Sans Bagsy, of course, but he's been looking pretty quick in these cars. The results won't tell you that so far. Oh no, that's not a great start. He's kept it out of the fence for the most part, thank goodness. But that's not going to be a fantastic lap time if he does register a lap time at all. But it's always good to put one on the board.
It is, and honestly, that was very well saved by Nether. We'll get a replay here of it. So just a little bit. He had more confidence than his skills were capable of supporting by the looks of it.
He doesn't seem to be putting a lap in. He's slowed right down, and I think he's actually going to get caught and passed by Roadhog if he's not careful. Yeah,
he's presumably just going around to register a lap time, but he is going to maybe interfere with Roadhog's outlap, which
I haven't seen any sector splits come up for him, so he's not actually going to register a lap time. I'm guessing he would have cut the track early on there, so I'm not sure if he realises that at this point, but I haven't seen a single sector split come up for him.
No, one would have come up just there. So, yeah, he must have cut the track, and he's just continuing around to re-enter the pits. So, Our eyes will, I guess, suppose, turn to Roadhog, the second roadie that we've got here tonight. It's risk versus reward, says Hans B, and is exactly right. As we see Nether limp around the last corner and get himself out of the way. Looks like he's
getting a nice big run. He is entering the pits indeed. Roadhog going, using as much of the runoff as he could through that final corner to get as good a run as he possibly could onto the main straight. Let's see if that improves his pace down the Gulf Coast Highway, as this map is telling me the street name where they're on at the moment. And he's charging down towards the first chicane now.
Murrell just kept absolutely destroying his tyres in the pits before he began his outlap. So be interesting to see if that has an effect. A little bit of a scruffy entry into turn 2/4 and a big snaky on the exit from Roadhog. But he looks quick so far, and he is up by 0.6 of a second. So looking good here for the Marlboro car.
That's very, very quick indeed. And it's always a good sign when you're looking like you're carrying that much pace through the first sector split, of course. A lot of two-wheel action through the middle part. Really nice slide on the exit, and he had about half an inch to spare to the concrete wall between himself and that mirror as well. So really, really marginal exit there. Oh, that looks pretty shaky through turn 11 there, so that might have lost him some time. Nope, he's up 1.1 seconds, so I'll just eat those words just before they even get too far away from me.
He's hanging the back out as much as humanly possible, and while it doesn't look comfortable, he's managing to keep the power in as much more than he would be otherwise, I'm imagining. That is a lot of smoke as he goes around the last corner. Nice and dramatic from Roadhog as he starts the last straight of his lap, and it's looking like a good lap time. So he's got a 1:26.3 to beat, and it is a 1:25 dead. So that is 1.3 seconds up Roadhog on his qualifying time.
Keep in mind, we've still got about 4 seconds to play with before we reach the sort of lap times that Xeris was reaching in the practice session, and Brenton Foley as well. So we can hopefully expect to see those times tumble dramatically as the session wears on. Scott Murrell is out now in his first qualifying session for Apex rear wing, and he's looking pretty neat and tidy. Missed the apex by about half a metre through the turn 4 hairpin. Little tiny bit of tyre smoke on the exit, but not a huge amount at all, and that's going to be looking good for the first split, and it is almost, or just over, a third of a second through the first.
Yeah, he was complaining in the practice session about, how are you guys finding, 2 more seconds around. Oh my God! And they're not finding it doing that. He has hit the concrete tyre barriers that Hans B warned us about, and Resist has to be very careful tiptoeing through the chicane to avoid him. And it looks like he's managed to do so. I'm not sure if that will count as a track cut. I can only assume it will, but I guess we'll see in just a sec when he crosses the sector time. Fantastic for us anyway. Shot of Scott Murrell hitting it and going up into the air. He is still qualifying, so he's 9 seconds down as of the second sector split, which will still put him above Rambo, who of course didn't set a time. But a little bit disappointing there. Maybe the pressure of his first Apex rear wing qualifying session got to him a bit.
Yeah, he's copped a bit of suspension damage on the front there, and it's thrown the back end of the car way out. Is he actually going to pull it into the pits because he's hugging the left-hand side of the track? No, he's going to commit to it. May as well, mate. Go for it. What can he put down? It's a 1:34.508. It is 9.5 seconds off the pace at the moment, but it is a time, and that is what is most important here at the moment. And we're seeing Resist for the USSR team now crossing the line to start his lap.
Yep, he's a lot tidier than Zarlingier was through there. Didn't tap the wall as we saw Zarlingier did. And Resist is very tidy there through the first major corner, I suppose. Depends what we're calling it. And he is up by 0.8 of a second through the first sector.
I think I'm just going to call it the hairpin at this point because there aren't really many other corners like it on the track. And he's carrying a lot of speed into the chicane, and he's keeping it very neat and tidy, just missing the tyre barriers. Oh, easy as you like. He was up 0.8 of a second, like he said, through the first sector. And I've got high hopes for his second split as well as he jumps on the anchors, gets nice, neat line through turn 11 there, and we'll see his split coming up very, very soon. It is 1.37 seconds faster than what Roadhog has put down so far. So these lap times are tumbling.
They are, and we've still got a whole sector to go, so he could easily improve even further on that. It's looked like a very, very clean lap for the USSR driver from Somalia. That's an odd sentence. As he starts the start-finish straight, keeps it tucked right up against that outside wall, because that is, of course, the direction that the track turns in, and he crosses the line with a 1:23.1, so cuts 2 seconds out of Roadhog's lap time. We're getting ever closer to those times that we saw Zirus and Foley setting.
Great time from Resist. And now Birdo is taking to the track to set his flying lap as he jumps into the chicane to start the lap. Oh! So close to the wall there on the exit of turn 3. And he's pulled it in nice and neat and tidy. Lost quite a bit of speed through the chicane, actually. So this might not be the best first sector split for him, but I could eat my words here as well. We'll see. No, he's marginally down on Resist, but only marginally.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good sector considering what a scruffy first couple of corners he had. And a lot of confidence there through the back chicane. Very, very close to those tyre bundles and jumping over those curbs. So I reckon he might have pulled a bit of a gap. Oh, as he gets right up against the wall coming out of turn 5, I've got it as. And he's 1.5 tenths up going through the second sector.
Yeah, he's looking pretty good now, but it is still pretty close to Resist, so he's got to make sure he gets a really good final sector here. Doesn't want to lose any time through this crucial turn 14 as it is on my map. I'm going to have to start using your map as well, Madbird, for the clarity's sake here, because we're just going to keep throwing arbitrary numbers at our viewers and listeners here. They're just going to... I'll just... We'll make a decision on whose map we use, but we've got a lap here that's about to finish, and I think Birdo's going to cross the line. Here's 1:22.818. Almost 3 tenths up on Resist time. That's a great lap from Birdo.
That is. We've got Brenton Foley coming down to begin his lap. So during qualifying, it was all sort of him and Zirus. And Goofball Antics actually managed to sneak up into second before the end of the practice session, which I missed. So very well done to Goofball Antics. He had a lot of confidence last week, especially in the post-race interview after race 1. And then he blew his engine up in race 2. So let's hope that his confidence is more well found this time around. And he's actually just spun it on his outlap. He spun it at the hairpin, and he's managed to keep it out of the wall. But my goodness, I should probably be looking at Brenton Foley, who's up through the first sector.
I was very confused there because I was watching him go half a second up in the first sector, and you're saying he spun at the hairpin. And I'm like, are we watching the same race here? I've got no idea what's going on. Brenton Foley is on track, ladies and gentlemen. He is putting down a lap time at the moment. He's putting down a fantastic lap time. Nice bit of oversteer on the exit of turn 11. He's almost a whole second up. Oh, what a slide from Brenton Foley. We know he likes to get the back end out. It's not always the quickest way around a track, but Brenton Foley is the man who can make it work if anybody can.
I did find in the DRMs that worked so much to his benefit, because although he was, sliding through every corner, he was keeping it in the turbo power band, which I'm not sure is a thing in these particular cars, but it meant that even though he was going slowly through the corners, he could get onto the power so much faster, and that is a 1.1 second reduction on Birdo's time. So a 1:21.6, which is very, very close to the times that Zirus was setting during practice session. Zirus, who's sitting at the end of the pit lane, ready to go. You'll see him flash by. There he goes there. Goofball Antics beginning his qualifying lap.
He's already taken across. Oh, that's not looking pretty good for the first chicane there. He's gone straight through the plastic bollard in turn 1, and he's got a little bit shaky through the exit of the chicane there. A lot of wheel spin through turn 4. This isn't looking super promising for the first sector. Let's see what he's doing. Oh, he's up. Never mind. I've got to stop saying that because bloody hell. I'm just look at the split. It's awesome. And I'm just reminding myself of Murray Walker, who was one of his famous commentary lines. Oh, Nigel Mansell's slowing down. He's taking it easy. Oh, no, he isn't. He just set the lap record. So let's see what Goofball Antics can manage around here.
Yeah, so he managed a 1:21 dead, and he's backed it into the wall coming off the back straight, and he's down by 0.8 tenths of a second. So he's around again. He's lost his bonnet. I reckon that might be all she wrote for this particular lap time. He's going to get all in the way of Zirus. That's a lot of smoke for Zirus to see through. Zirus himself having a bit of it looks like he's just warming his tyres. All good. That is a lot of damage on Goofball's car, which is not wanting to turn left.
He's put it into the final wall, the back corner of the track as well, just to add insult to injury. I think his suspension is just packed up and left early because it's not really working for him too well at the moment. He's going to try and set a lap here, or is he going to come into
still get it? No, he's going to. I was going to say he could possibly still get ahead of Scott Murrell, but he is ducked into the pits. So we have got Xeris now to set his lap time. Can he beat Brenton Foley? He actually managed a time of a 1:20.8 in the practice session, so 0.8 of a second faster than Foley's current lap. But it's a bit different when you got the pressure to do it in a shootout.
I think he was the only driver I saw warming their tyres on the out lap before their shootout. So it seems to have paid off so far. He's up almost 0.3 of a second through the first sector split. Let's see what he can do on the run down. It's Xeris. I've got a pretty good indication of what he is going to do. And that is...
Oh no! That's not what I was expecting. Oh my God! That is not what we expected to happen. That was... Usually Xeris has the exact right amount of confidence for his skill, but he has gone straight into the tyre barrier. Oh my goodness, we're going to have a replay of it as he recovers and continues his lap. So here he goes. First one's fine. Second one, just he gets a bit unsettled and spears directly into it. And it's almost a carbon copy of Scott Murrell's accident. Directly into the wall and onto his roof. We've got so many Fs happening in the chat. It's incredible. And he is
18.3 seconds down. I'll tell you what, as I was saying that sentence about expecting certain performances from Xeris, as it was coming out of my mouth, my brain was going, he's looking pretty shaky. He's going to hit the tyres. He's hit the tyres, hasn't he? And that's put him well down the order. He is going to post a lap. So he's going to be on paper ahead of Irambo, but that suspension is completely shot. He's sideways all the way down the main straight. Yeah.
So he will, despite...
No, he got a track cut.
He did get a track cut. So unfortunately, Xeris will be starting from the rear of the grid, along with Goofball Antics, Netherelmian, and Rambo, who none of them set a lap time. But pole position is Brenton Foley, who is no slouch. So this is going to be very interesting in the once we get into the race. Oh, what a finish, Matty. My heart is still racing.
We've got an hour of racing to go after that, so don't waste all your energy at once just trying to comprehend what happened there, because we've got some racing on our hands coming up soon, folks, which is going to be at least twice as hairy as what you were just witnessing there. So we've got Brenton Foley and Berto starting on the front row of the grid, with Resist third and Roadhog starting P4. Zarlinger is fifth and Josh Bagsy is in P6, and the rest of the lineup has actually disappeared in front of me. But we're going to have a 10-minute warm-up session, and I will read out the grid order to you as we get into the formation lap of the race. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, folks. Subscribe to us on YouTube while you're here. May as well hit that big red subscribe button and the notification bell to let you know when we're live. And you can always donate to us on Patreon as well. It's a bit of money required getting these servers running, and every little dollar that you can donate is muchly appreciated.
Yeah, and it's a lot of work putting these on, especially for our producer Stairs. Does a lot of work with the graphics and the music and so on. That was a reference that relies on a fairly racist accent, which I wasn't going to do, and so now it's completely lost. We've just got Scott Nolan in the chat just saying Foley in form after a race last night in the Porsches, so bodes well for Brenton Foley. Now on Saturday, Matty, you and me are going to be in the box once again.
We are. I'll be in the virtual box and you'll be in the physical box in Adelaide for the ASC Bathurst 1000, folks. It's going to be huge. A full day of racing, and not just that, we're also going to be covering practice and qualifying, I imagine, on the Friday as well. I'm not actually sure what the deal is. We probably will be. I have to double check that with Des. Top 10 shootout on Friday, folks. We will be covering that. I can confirm that. So we'll have a practice session, qualifying, a top 10 shootout on the Friday. And then Saturday, we have 1,000 kilometres of supercar action around the Mount Panorama circuit. It will be Stairs, Madbird, and Michael Floody Zalavari in the box as your main commentators for the race, with myself and Josh Bagsy chiming in from our various dominions of Australia with some technical information. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun, Madbird.
It absolutely is. It was an utter blast last year. when it was myself, Bagsy, Stairs, and Floody, Michael Zalavari, doing shifts in the commentary box in person. So very much looking forward to getting some segments and stuff done, and putting on an absolute cracker show for everybody who's going to be coming along to watch. And if you're listening and you're keen to race it, then they are still accepting entries, I think, for the next couple of days, or for the next day, I think. I reckon, and the cutoff is tomorrow night. So
you better be speedy, folks. We've got 13 cars, I think, on the grid at the moment. So not a bad looking field, but the more we can get in there, the merrier.
So we're just watching. Back to our guys. We are just watching them all line up for a practice start. It's an eclectic looking grid.
It is. It certainly is. And I've just noticed that Birdo has the inside line into the chicane. He is positioned a little bit further back on the grid, though. So I'm not sure what the actual stagger is. It looks to be direct side by side here at Surface Paradise. I think it is. So
I think it is side by side.
So that's actually put a benefit to Birdo, I would think. It is technically a shorter run from Brenton Foley because the main straight does kink to the right, as you can see there. But the first corner of the chicane does turn left. If you can keep it side by side, both of these guys have a pretty equal chance of making it out. But also, you don't want to be going side by side through those chicanes, so it's a bit of a catch-22. And this is the reason why we have these practice starts, folks, so we can get all those little nigglies out of us and try and just work out how to get a race start under our belt without crashing too much at the start. So they're looking pretty orderly through the first chicane now.
Yeah, very surprisingly ordinary. Orderly was the word I was trying to say. They're not ordinary.
Bloody ordinary.
Bloody ordinary. Not good enough. The idea being, obviously, we get our crashes out of the way with the practice starts, and then our real start is perfect. And we've got Stairs. Our producer has found some footage for us playing on the billboards. It seems to be a loop of quite a short MP4, but the length doesn't matter when the content is this good. How's that? Anyway,
your Patreon dollar's hard at work, ladies and gentlemen.
We've got an eye on Tyrrell, who is worrying Xeris over those
just
minor positions. At the front, Brenton Foley's just been overtaken by Birdo, and Resist having a cheeky look up the inside as well. So this bodes well for a cracking battle for the first few laps. Looks like Birdo, Brenton Foley, and Resist are all sort of on pace with each other. So
Starling Gears already lost the wheel in the background, mind you.
Could this be the season and the round where Resist finally gets that maiden win? Have I just put the mods on him and guaranteed that he won't?
Yes.
You have to hang around and find out, viewers.
There's a 98% chance that yes, you have, given your recent run of form with commentators cursing. But as I was saying last week, for those who are tuning in, I think that he's actually buried that hatchet, given what he was able to achieve in the Automobilista Supercars Championship a couple of weeks ago. So I reckon the strategy for you, Mad Bird, is to just heap as much praise and as much expectation on Resist as you damn well please, and just see if it pays off.
And you know, if he does come good, then you know I can say, well, I've been calling it for years. He's been the next up and comer.
Yeah, he'll tell you a different story.
He will tell us the difference. He has said that he doesn't believe in commentators' curses or whatever, so I'm sure he doesn't mind. But you know, every time I pump up his tires and then they explode, I do feel a small part of my heart die.
Well, I'd like to think that you've read the pressure rating for those tyres this season around, and you'll be able to put the adequate amount of pressure into them. And we're just seeing a hell of a lot of bodywork flying around at the exit of the chicane there. Birdo's lost a wheel. He's lost his bonnet. No Resist has lost the bonnet. Everyone else has just lost the plot at this point.
Well, as Rhodey has to check up behind Tyrrell. So that was a bit of a hairy little moment. Brenton Foley, meanwhile, has just disappeared into the lead. Oh, that was a dramatic accident. My goodness, I completely missed that at the time. He just speared. That was almost Roland Ratzenberger at Imola, just spearing directly into the fence. Was it Barrichello that did that? Oh, Rubens Barrichello did that. Do apologise. Ratzenberger's was a different variety of accidents. See, all of the character deaths in the film center are just running together in my head.
We're just seeing Lockie237 in the chat saying they're going to have a big accident because they're too busy looking at the screen. And I mean, look at them. If this is how the dress rehearsals are going with 4 minutes left to go before the race starts, then gee, they better get their eyes off that screen pretty quick smart.
For research purposes, is that a real driver? Like a supercars driver that, you know, they trotted out to do some sexy stuff to try to promote supercars to people or something? Or is it? Yeah, it doesn't look like it, does it? Also, it's got F1 in the background, which doesn't imply to me that it's supercars.
I mean, I thought it looked like Mark's cave. Bit of Adobe
right outside
After Effects.
It's a lot of airbrushing for that to be Mike's game. My goodness. So we've got a couple minutes left here in this warm-up session as we watch the guys just tear around and get their willies out. I meant willies in the sense of you know, get their niggles out, get their silliness out. But having just talked about an attractive woman on the TV screen and then said get their willies out, I disagree with myself. Mitchell McGovern pointing out my beautiful line of some sexy stuff in quotes, so thanks for that, Mitch.
I do think they call that a Freudian slip. Nice side-by-side action here between Rhodey and Goofball Antics, who jumps in front of him. Rhodey's going to take it a little bit wide on the exit there and just keep Xeris behind him. So this is a good dress rehearsal for Rhodey when he undoubtedly jumps the whole field before turn 1 and is defending for the rest of the race. Xeris, okay, we haven't really talked about predictions yet, Madbird. Who is your prediction? Because Xeris is starting pretty far back here.
He is, but it is Xeris, so I expect for him to be challenging for the lead by the end of lap 2. Honestly, I don't know. I want to say Brenton Foley, but I don't want to put that evil on him. So I'm going to say resist.
Life's too short to be worried about commentators' curses. You do what you like, mate.
That's very true. You know what? I reckon Foley. I've got faith that without having the pressure of Xeris right up his chuff straight off the bat. As I've just watched an accident through the first corner where Rhodey's just taken Scott Murrell out in dramatic fashion. I reckon without the pressure of having Xeris right up his chuff straight away, I reckon Foley will settle into a groove and he'll manage to pull off his first win of the season. And lovely little hip and shoulder there from Rhodey. And there goes one of Scotty's tyres.
I'm going to bank on something weird and unpredictable happening. Oh, we've just heard a big moment has happened there. I've just seen a wheel bounce across the track. Rhodey, I've just seen a Caltex bonnet and an errant wheel bouncing across the track. What has happened here?
For the viewers, it must seem ridiculous that I just started laughing for no reason, but I can assure you that our producer Stairs just went at the top of his volume into my ear, and I was very confused as to what the occurrence was. But the occurrence was
any of these cars have 4 wheels left? Do any of these? I
don't think so. Wheels? They don't seem to be. That we do have a rule, and they've come together again. Rhodey having now lost his wheel in sympathy.
Get that sponsor. Get that sponsor exposure while you can, boys.
Yep. Rhodey's car is not going to want to turn there. Nope. And I reckon Scott's going to catch up to him. And the timer has just elapsed for the rest of this warm-up session. So this is a beautiful way to see our warm-up session. As Rhodey's figured out that the car doesn't want to turn left, so he's reversing, which is an incredible strategy. Beautiful J-turn there. And now Scotty giving him a little bit of a bump. What a great mates, these two, as they crowd each other into the pit lane. What a spectacle we've been treated to here
between these two. And that is warm up, ladies and gentlemen. I'm already exhausted, and we've still got an hour of racing to go. So wish me the best of luck.
Well, good luck, Matty. And I would ask you to do the same for myself.
Best of luck to you, Madbird, as well. You can see our live timing, as you can see on the graphic there, arwleague.liveraces.com. And live timing, we were having some issues with it last season, but they seem to have resolved themselves for the most part. So come and check the lap times, come and check the splits, come and see what the happenings are here at Apex Rear Wing. Get as much information into those eyeballs as you possibly can. And now we're waiting for the cars to grid up because we're pretty close to getting on the way for a race start.
We are indeed. We've just got a few more cars waiting to get out on that grid. And then we'll be setting off on a formation lap before race 1. So again, it is 30 minutes. So it's time limited. So it's time plus 1 lap. So once the timer elapses, there will be 1 more lap. The calculations were about 23, 24 laps. So very, very keen for this one, Matty.
It's going to be fantastic, and we're underway for the formation lap. So let's go through the starting grid. Brenton Foley will sensationally start on pole position here for race 1 on the Gold Coast. Next to him on the grid with the inside line, crucially, into the first chicane will be Birdo for Amazonia Motorsport. Lining up behind them, we have Xeris' brother, Resist, starting a fantastic 3rd position. Could this be his chance for his first win? Cross your fingers, folks. This is a pretty good chance for it. Roadhog is next to him in the number 4th position, I should say, on the grid in that Marlboro car. The other USSR vehicle of Zalinger is behind Resist in 5th position, with the glorious Midas Racing of Josh Bagsy lining up next to him in P6. That was everyone who put a time down in the 107% according to live races. 7th on the grid is Rhodey, which is a great result for him in qualifying. Well done on putting down a lap, because a lot of people actually didn't. Tyrrell is next to him in P8 with the car number 19 for Jeff Vader Racing. Scott Murrell with a 134.508 as a result of his crash, and his lap is in 9th position, but that's still better than 4 other blokes here who didn't put times down. Those people include iRambo starting from 10th, Xeris starting from 11th on the grid, but we've seen how he can charge through the field, so what can you do here at Gold Coast? It's a pretty narrow track. We'll see if he can make one of his characteristic jumps through the whole field on the first couple of laps. Definitely keep your eyes on that purple and green car, folks. Behind him, we've got Netherelmian starting from 12th position, and Goofball Antics bringing up the rear in lucky 13th.
Goofball, who last time, race 1 last week, said, he would have been disappointed with himself if he didn't get onto the podium after starting at the back of the grid. So presumably he will be expecting to see himself on the podium once again. We'll have to wait and see what occurs in that. So it actually looks like Brenton Foley has the inside line. So they were actually practicing the wrong way around, which is not great. Which is not great for them, but it does make sense since the inside line will be much more advantageous. So we just got the last couple of cars there at the back forming up, and then we're going to be off here at Surfers. And we've got 1 light, 2 light, 3 lights, 4 lights, and they're out, and we are racing here at Surfers Paradise. So it looks like a good start from the 2 on the back. Oh, sorry, the second row. Resist and Roadhog starting off very well. Brenton Foley's managing to keep onto his lead over Birdo, and he leads them into the first chicane. Looks all pretty tidy at the moment as they go single file, which is pretty much the only way to go through those chicanes, and incredibly tidy, in fact. And Xeris has already gained a place.
He certainly has. So Xeris is doing his best at the moment. He hasn't pushed up very far because there's not a huge amount of overtaking opportunities at the start of the lap, but he's got plenty of time to work through that. So Brenton Foley is pulling away a gap already. He's already a second ahead of Birdo, who is now doing his best to hold off Resist behind him. So we're just seeing the field stream down now. This is the first time they're going to go through the chicane in race conditions. Are they all going to make it through clean this time around? They won't be taking any risks, surely. And they're all safe and sound on the other side for lap 1 at the very least. Goofball Antics at the back there has already made up 2 spots from where he started. Xeris is going for the double pass into this corner. He knocks into the side of Tyrrell. Can't get 2 in 1 there, but he's in a pretty good spot to get Tyrrell at the next spot. He just grabbed Scott Murrell there through the last corner, but now Tyrrell is making it a little bit difficult for him through these next corners here.
And rightfully so. It isn't a particularly easy track to overtake on, and Tyrrell's making that Jeff Vader Racing car as wide as he possibly can, but Xeris trying to tuck up the inside. Oh, Zarlinger looks like he's had a drama coming out of the last corner. He's incredibly slow, and that is going to give Rhodey a run on him as Xeris is coming down the inside of Tyrrell, down the start-finish straight. Brenton Foley continues to lead over Birdo.
Two pairs of side-by-sides. Grab your partner, around we go. This is great racing, and we're only on lap 2 here, folks. As we see Josh Bagsy stream through the chicane there ahead of them. It's Zarlingier leading this train ahead of Rody, ahead of Xeris, ahead of Tyrrell, Got Murrell, Goofball Antics, iRambo, and Netherrealmian trailing at the back there.
He's now 10.6 seconds behind the lead of Brenton Foley. So Brenton Foley getting while the getting is good as they come through the back chicane for the second time. My goodness, I'm going to have a lot of heart attacks watching this. And we've got some side-by-side, looks like Resist, putting the pressure on Birdo as they come through the last few corners of the race. The racetrack.
Jeez, that was quick.
And he's all over the back of Birdo.
He certainly is, and there's already a gap to the lead of 4 seconds from Brenton Foley. So these two battling is music to Brenton Foley's ears, and Birdo is just holding off Resist at the moment, but the rest of the field will very slowly and surely be coming up on them as well, as Xeris surely gets the pass on Zarlingier as well out of that final corner. They're going to be side by side. I think Zarlingier had a little bit of a wider radius through the exit there, so he may carry a couple more kilometres an hour of speed, but Xeris, I'm sure he'll be a demon on the brakes into the first chicane. It'll be very close between these two. Let's see what he can do. It's a very long run down to that first chicane. Oh, gets him easy as you like. Xeris is up to P6.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that might have been Zarlingier just going, look, I think this is going to be inevitable and I don't want to have an airplane crash going through the chicane. And so he may have let off the brakes a little bit or let off the throttle a little bit early there.
Rambo's in the fence.
Oh no, the first of our accidents, so he's lost it at the hairpin. Not too badly, just gone straight on into the tyres by the looks of it, and we'll have to wait and see if he has any damage, but it could have been a lot worse if it had been through one of those chicanes.
Very gentle, like jumps on the brakes as hard as he can, just nudges the tyres and the bonnet goes, farewell, I've done my job for today. Not sure if there'll be too much suspension damage on that thing. Of course, time will tell. We'll see how he goes around. Oh, never mind. He's lost his front wheel. He's hit the chicane.
Oh, no.
Race over.
So that is Rambo out, and we are only 4 minutes into this 30-minute race. So that is a big shame. That is. I was going to say some broken plates, but that's Greece, isn't it? Not Italy. As he's just, that car didn't want to turn, did it? And directly into that tyre barrier.
It didn't even look like he made an attempt in the chicane, so I reckon there was definitely some serious suspension damage there that didn't really show itself until he entered that turn 6 part there, which is a really hard turn. It was the only time you really need to turn the steering wheel after that hairpin. So that's our first DNF for the race, and we've got 12 runners left on the track. The gap at the front is now 4.2 seconds, and Birdo is slightly gapping Resist, but we're looking behind here at the battle for 5th place as Bagsy runs wide, hits the fence in the exact same spot that Rambo did. So hopefully he can be able to press on without too much damage himself, but that promotes Xeris up into P5.
So that Marshall at that first hairpin is going to take home a collection of bonnets at the end of this race. Xeris up 6 positions by lap 4 as he goes through the back chicane. Very Larry on the exit.
Hope we get a replay of what Xeris just managed on the exit of that chicane, because that was a phenomenal save for him. So close to scraping the wall at full send, and he's kept it together for the time being, but he's got 3.1 seconds to make up on Road Dogg. Here's the replay. Look at this, folks. Oh, close as you like.
Barely about a cigarette paper's width between that Opala Stock Car and the wall there, as he just... he might even brush it just a tiny bit, but about as close as you can possibly get. Brenton Foley just setting the fastest lap of the race, a 1:21.7. Bagsy's around. I think that's at the last corner. Oh, and he's gone straight into Scott Murrell. That was a very, very messy rejoin for Bagsy. And
what a calamity. He got turned around by Zarlingier, you're right.
That is a damn shame. So we've actually got Goofball Antics coming into the pits on lap 4. And Josh Bagsy as well. That may be for damage. So again, 30-minute race. We know that the fuel should only last about 20 minutes. So Goofball Antics diving into the pits straight away to fuel up. So we're only about 7 minutes into this race. So
there's another crash behind there. That's Scott Murrell who's hit the fence. And I'm not sure if he's missing a tyre there, because he looks to be rolling the body a little bit. He's still got all 4 wheels on his wagon, but he's got to have some sort of damage by now. Let's have a look at the replay of what happened. He would have done it all on his own, I would think. He has. Oh my goodness. That's not what you want.
Yeah, so it gets cleaned up by Tyrrell. Not Tyrrell's fault. It must. I hasten to add. And then a little bit of contact there with Nether as well. So,
no.
As it looks like Roadhog and Xeris. What is happening this race? It is the messiest I've seen in quite a long time. So Roadhog and Xeris tangling, going through the last couple of corners.
Guys, Xeris is really slow here. We'll check the replay, but Xeris has only just got over 80 k's an hour. He must have missed gears or something like that.
Oh, he just goes straight into the back of Roadhog. So, yeah, as Stairs in our ear is just saying that it's probably Xeris trying to redress the position to Roadhog, but Roadhog is well back. He's only just recovered, actually. He's down in 10th place. So that would be a very long redress for Xeris.
Yeah, that's a huge dent in Roadhog's time, unfortunately.
What a dramatic race so far, and we're not even 10 minutes in, Matty.
The highlight reel is just a straight race feed at this point.
So Brenton Foley continues to lead. His gap to Xeris now 24.5 seconds, so looking good if he can continue on this kind of pace. Looking at Roadhog, wonder if he's got any damage. It seems to be handling okay.
Yeah, it seems to be looking pretty straight at the moment, and he's not looking super slow either, so he must have just gotten unlucky in terms of traffic coming around turn 10, so he didn't really have a chance to turn the car around, is indeed a possibility, and that's a massive penalty for him, unfortunately, through no fault of his own. So he's all the way back down in 10th, which is a shame because he qualified quite well. And now we're seeing Xeris already lapping Josh Bagsy, I think, because Bagsy pitted, of course. I've just realised. I thought he was passing somebody for third. But he still has 16 seconds on his brother in P3 at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think it's controversial to say that gap will probably come down quite quickly. Although Resist has been setting some pretty decent lap times as well so far this race. So I guess don't count him out too early. His last time was a 1:23.4. Xeris's was also a 1:23.4, but he did have some traffic to contend with. So Rody currently sitting up in 5th place, which he would be, I imagine, absolutely stoked with. Only up 2 positions from his start, but got to remember that there were 4 cars that did not qualify. So he is doing very well and keeping his nose clean. Knock on wood, as Brute says in the chat.
Would that be his best race position?
Well and truly. I'll go have a quick look and see what his best race finish in Apex Rear Wing was, so that we can more effectively put the moz on him.
I've got 10th in front of me. His best race finish so far is a 10th position, so he's currently doing twice as well as that up in P5 at the moment, which is also be a pretty handy bag of points for him too. So if he can hold on, that'll be a fantastic finish for Rody.
It will indeed. We have just ticked over to 10 minutes run in this race, and I would struggle to fit the highlights that have happened so far into 10 minutes, I reckon. So we're doing quite well. Brenton Foley still leading out the front by about 6.2 seconds over Birdo, who in turn is about 4.4 seconds over Resist. And Resist has got 14 seconds on his brother Xeris, who is up 7 positions from his start and is doing his very best to track down the leaders. But he did have a very big tangle with Roadhog, which may very well be investigated post-race.
Yeah, he's made up a second and some change already since we last spoke about the gap. So at this rate, he will definitely catch Resist at the very least. Whether he gets close to Birdo and Brenton Foley is another question by the end of the race at this pace. But we do have a pit stop to contend with, so that could definitely shake things up if pit strategy comes into play as well. Because we know that Xeris is very good at managing his tyres, and that's Roadhog who's gone around to the first chicane. Shocking race for Roadhog so far, unfortunately.
Of the 2 chicanes, that's the one to go around at, because there's no solid concrete tyre barriers. What has happened here? So he's lost it coming into the chicane and looped it around so that he was facing the wrong way, and then he's tried to flick spin it. He's tried to get out of the way a bit, I think, as well, and then he has flick spinned it, but it's probably doesn't have the power to flick spin it effectively, as Nether actually exited the pits there. So that is Nether and Goofball Antics and Bagsy are the 3 pit callers we've had so far this race, as we see Roadhog finally recovering to the track, still down in 10th.
You got to be careful to pull a maneuver like that, because I reckon if you go any further backwards down the track surface, you might get an automatic disqualification from the game. So he's still running for the time being, but you definitely want to be wary of that if you spin the car once again, Roadhog, I should say. There's a lot of roads in this race.
There are quite a few. Brute just in the chat saying, what's the next round? I believe it's Interlagos.
It is.
In Brazil. And we've got a sprint and a feature race, so a 20-minute race and a 40-minute race next time out in the cars in their home country of Brazil. So it'll be good to see them hooning around Interlagos as we see one of the roads currently still in 5th, with Zarlingier tracking him down for that 5th position. So he's cutting into Rhodey's advantage, and looks like he's going to be shaping up to have a go down the start-finish straight.
Just to quickly add on to the next round, it'll be the same time as tonight. Next week, we're running races every Wednesday until the end of the season in mid-December. So if you're looking for something to do on a Wednesday night, come on by, stay good day, and watch some fantastic racing here. Interlagos is where it will be. And it's a very, very close battle that we're seeing here between Rhodey and Zarlingier, who is slowly but surely pulling that gap back between himself and the red car in front of him.
Yeah, I was expecting Zarlingier to be a lot closer onto this start-finish straight, actually. So Rhodey's doing quite well to keep up a decent turn of pace. Zarlingier locking up coming into the chicane probably won't be helping matters, and clouding the wall as well does not help at all. So let's hope that he can manage not to do that much more for the rest of the race.
Has to be said that Rhodey does have quite a bit of experience in real life racing, as a matter of fact, running in the Victorian Formula V Championship for a little while there. Similar characteristics to these cars in the sense they both have an open differential, so he may be used to that style of handling, and it may explain why he seems to be faring a lot better in this car than he has done in some of the series past. Xeris has lost a lot of time. He's gone off the track. He's lost his bonnet ahead here, and he's shot off the track at turn 11. So Xeris is now down 28, almost 29 seconds on his brother Resist in 3rd. That's a huge dent in his race. Let's have a look at the replay.
Yep, so just completely, that's an odd one. Like, just completely missed his braking point, probably realised that he wasn't going to get it pulled up in time, and then these cars' turning circle is not a thing that exists by the
Spirit of Tasmania-esque is what I would call the turning circle of these vehicles.
That's very well put. Xeris has actually peeled into the pits, so he's going to try to minimise his pain, make it an in lap, so that when people look at it and go, man, that was a crap lap, yeah, in lap. And be interesting to see if anyone's changing their tyres on their pit stops, because our information was that the tyres they'll last 30 minutes, but they'll be a bit iffy by the end. So iffy is something that you don't really want when you've got to be so precise going through those chicanes.
I don't mean to alarm you, but Rhodey's 4th.
Yeah, I've just seen that in the chat. So Mitchell McGovern saying Rhodey for podium. Go Rhodey 4th. I bet his heartbeat is going off the chart in 4th right now, says Brute. So we'll try not to put too much of a commentator's curse on him. But yeah, with Xeris peeling off into the pits, that has promoted Rhodey up. Rhodey, of course, still yet to pit. And Zarlingier I was expecting Zarlingier to make more inroads than he has currently done. We're seeing Xeris here exiting the pits and rejoining behind Birdo. That is a lap down though, so he has actually been lapped by the leaders as Xeris, which is not something you can say very often. You
really can't at all. And we're getting a lot of support in the chat now for hashtag Rhodium. Get on it,
Rhodium. Oh, I love it. Hashtag Rhodium.
I think it's a pretty bad time to take stock at the moment, given that we're halfway through the pit strategy calls at the moment. But Foley, Birdo and Resist are still yet to pit, and we can definitely say that Foley is leading this race by 7.6 seconds over Birdo, who in turn is another 7.2 seconds ahead of Resist in 3rd, who is now 36.8 seconds ahead of Rhodey, who we're seeing now on the screen in 4th position.
Yep, so Rhodey and Zarlingier, I think the only ones who have yet to pit. No, sorry, Rhodey, Zarlingier and Scott Murrell, the ones that have yet to pit, as well as our front 3. So let me start that over again. 1 through 6 are yet to pit. And Goofball Antics, who was our very first pit caller, is in 7th and only 2 seconds behind Scott Murrell. So that early pit stop is paying off for Goofball Antics. Just get it out of the way. And Scott Murrell is actually catching up to Zarlingier and Rody, or specifically Zarlingier, quite quickly actually, and he's put the lights on. I'm not sure if that's because he's listening to us or he's just letting Zarlingier know that he's coming.
Geez, this race is all over the place, isn't it? Pit strategy does contribute to that somewhat. So we're just seeing Rody peeling into the pits now, followed very closely by Scott Murrell. So they're about to get their stops out of the way. And we've only got 12 minutes and a half left to run. So we're a little bit past the half distance. So this gives these two gentlemen a good chance to sort of underfuel themselves a little bit and push really hard to the end of the race. Expect to see some pretty quick lap times from these blokes.
I reckon Brenton Foley he's put a gear down because he is taking it very easy through that back chicane. And why wouldn't you when you've got an 8-second lead and your main rival is a lap down on you? Although he's going to have to be careful here as he comes into the first chicane because we've got some people exiting the pits, but he's gone through all right. But second place man Birdo has peeled into the pits, so can he do something here, put on some fresh tyres and chase on after Brenton Foley, or don't change his tyres at all and save some time? Could be interesting. We've got a lot of support for a roadie post-race interview.
Keep it flowing, folks. Keep the support coming. It's always great to see you in the chat. Pit strategy is always an interesting thing here because you can take as many or as few tyres as you really want. I think Xeris only took rears when he took his mandatory stop at one of the last races at the first round that we had at, where was that? I've already forgotten, and it was just last week. Mendig Flugplatz, that's the one. My brain is at half capacity thanks to this lockdown. So tyre strategy is something that we sort of have to try and keep a little bit abreast of because it throws things into chaos for the end stages of the race because we've got cars behaving in wildly different ways depending on what tyres they've changed, what fuel they have in the tank. And I think Brenton Foley's pulling to the inside of the track. Is he going to be pitting this lap?
Looks like it, yeah. He didn't want Scott Murrell getting a little bit aggressive trying to unlap himself. As Brent, what just happened? I heard some resist hit the wall by the looks of it going through the final corner. We'll get a quick replay of it. So all good through there. He's got Roadhog behind him, but is a lap down, of course. And fine there. And then just man, yeah, just did not want to stop. Carried a lot more pace than he meant to, perhaps, into that corner. Lost his bonnet, but hopefully not too much. Yeah, he's got quite a bit of damage on that car, I reckon. That back right was locking up, or that front right, sorry, was locking up quite a lot. So, again, we're getting closer and closer to a Rhodium, which, my goodness, I never thought I'd live to see the day. Brenton Foley has exited the pits into the lead of the race once again, 31 seconds ahead of Birdo. So
I think we've gone at 13 seconds.
Is it? It is 13 seconds. My thing had not updated. Do apologise. So he has nevertheless extended his advantage, not quite by 30 seconds, but still.
You had the right digits. You just had them in the wrong order, is all.
I did. It's a funny thing. I live in a set of units, which is number 31. And just down the road at number 13, there is the exact same set of units, which causes no end of grief to friends of mine that haven't visited in a while and say, yeah, this looks like Liam's place. And I remember the numbers 1 and 3 being involved somehow. It is a much nicer set of units than mine is, though. It's a lot better looked after, as we've got a cracker battle going on here between Zarlingier and Goofball Antics, or at least it was a cracker battle, but then Zarlingier took himself off into the wall.
What a shame. That's starting to become a little bit of a pattern this race for Zarlingier. We saw one shaping up between himself and #Rhodium earlier on, but he hit the fence and paid to that. And what's he done here? I think he just slid it out a little bit too far, overcorrected on the exit of the chicane and speared it straight into the fence. So I wouldn't be shocked if he had quite a bit of suspension damage on the front there as well. He's losing a lot of speed at the moment.
I'm not sure if Brenton Foley did change his tyres or not, but if he did, then he's probably left about half of the rear left. through the first chicane, because my goodness, he put down quite a lot of smoke. But as you can see there, going through that back chicane, he's taking it just a little bit easy. He does have still 13 seconds in hand over second place man Birdo, and with only 8 minutes left to run, this is looking all the more certain for Brenton Foley.
I don't think he changed tyres at the last pit stop race, did he? At the feature race at Mendig Flugplatz?
No, he that's how he managed to jump Xeris in the pit stops, because he didn't change any tyres whatsoever. Xeris only changed the rears, I believe.
Oh, guys, look at the battle for P6 at the moment. Sorry to interrupt you there, but it's a 3-car battle between Scott Murrell, Rody, and Xeris for what is now P5 after they've passed Resist in the pit stops here. This is a cracker of a scrap here between these three.
Where's his support? Hashtag Rhodium in the chat. Get him up there. He's got 2 cars right in his sights that have just passed him. He's down to his starting position in 7th, but he is well and truly still on the back of Scott Murrell and Xeris. Can he get these positions back coming into the chicane? It will be a very brave move into there.
Not to curse them, but if they mess up in front of him, he might be on for a bit of a Bradbury here and be able to charge back through into P5, but everything's looking pretty neat and tidy so far. I almost wonder if Resist scraped the wall behind him, but it's now a 4-car train that's forming up, which will soon to be a 3-car train behind Scott Murrell, I'll imagine, as Xeris is going to streak off into the distance. Bit of a tail-happy moment there for Scott.
Man, that damage to Resist has really killed his race. He's down in 8th position after he was running in a fairly safe 3rd, and he's now trying to fight Rody for that 7th. How the mighty have fallen, and he says he doesn't believe in commentators' curses, but I did give him the wrap-up in the lead-up, so maybe I won't do that next time, and we'll compare and contrast.
Do we know if Nether's stopped? Because he's up in P4 at the moment.
Yes, he did. He was actually one of the earlier stops, was Nether. I remember seeing him in a replay coming out of the pits, so he is for position, and he's got 10 seconds behind him to Xeris with 6 minutes left to run, so that's well and truly achievable by Xeris. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. So Nether came in with only 23 minutes yet to run, and we were told that the fuel should last around 20 minutes. So he may well be marginal on fuel and having to save a little bit. But the same thing can be said for Goofball Antics, who is in 3rd place. Actually, everything that I just said can be applied to Goofball Antics rather than NetherRealmian.
We've just had a fresh DNF for Tyrrell as well. I saw him tracking really slowly through the back half of the circuit there, and he has pulled into the pits to retire. So we do have 11 runners on the track now, folks, with 9 of those on the lead lap as it stands. Brenton Foley still leading the way with Birdo 2nd. Goofball Antics now up into 3rd, having started all the way down at the back of the grid in 13th. So the grid is all over the shop. We're just seeing a replay of what happened to Tyrrell, and he slapped the wall with ferocity there. Sheared one of the tyres off, put it back to its natural resting place with its friends on the barrier, and he's taken that one to the pit lane post haste. So now we've got a battle here for P6 between Scott Murrell once again and Resist, and unfortunately Rody seems to have fallen off the back of this pack a little bit.
Yeah, he does. Hashtag Rhodium's getting further and further away. Brute just suggesting a format maybe for next season where it's reverse grid except Rody goes first, which is, I was about to say that's usually how reverse grids go anyway. This is quite a close battle. You can see good shot here from the front of Resist's car. Scott Murrell on his debut actually doing quite well. He's up 3 positions from his start in 6th place, and he's been pretty tidy.
Spun around. Rody spun around.
Rhodium has spun around, and it's a damn shame.
He's lost a spot to Road Hog now, as a matter of fact, and that's dropped him down to 9th. So I think
he was coming out on top in the Battle of the Roads.
I think that may have zapped all the luck out of him. So he's just given it a few too many beans on the exit of the hairpin there and put it into the fence, and he's actually just finished his race into the chicane there at the back half of the circuit. Once we get out of the replay, we'll see him there parked up. We're still on replay mode, and he's in the garage, retired from the race. What a shame for Benjamin Rhodes.
So close. 3 minutes, 3 3/4 minutes left to run, and he is out of the race. The Rhodium exploded, says Brute, and we've got the Fs already starting to roll in. Very, very unfortunate there for Rhodes, but there is always the second race of the evening, as we see him here Oh, it looks like he was so close to having made that. Like his car was already starting to go past, and then the geometry went, No, what do you think you're doing? And around he goes, and we've got the rhodium exploding, and so many Fs in the chat. I'm sure that he's very, very appreciative of all of your support, guys. Keep it coming.
Moment there for Josh Bagley by the looks. I think he spun on the exit of turn 5 there, as a matter of fact, onto the back straight leading into the chicane, so he's lost a bit of time. But we are still watching this battle for P6 here as Resist is crawling all over the back of Scott Murrell, just trying to find a way past. This is Josh Bagsy. Let's see what he got up to. And yeah, he did the exact same thing there as we saw earlier from, I think it was Rhodey who nosed into the wall there. No, I could be wrong. There's so many people who have done it. I'm starting to lose track, as a matter of fact.
So, Goofball Antics, with 2.5 minutes left to run plus a lap, is looking like he's not lifting out too much. He's not losing any time to the runners behind him. So if he is fuel saving, then he's doing an incredibly good job of it, and he's up 10 positions from his start. This battle looks like it might be getting a little bit spicy. Resist all over the back of Scott Murrell coming down the start finish straight. Does he have the pace to get up alongside before the chicane? It doesn't look like he does, as they turn that last little right-hand kink. No, Scott Murrell still there. Oh, a little bit messy coming into the chicane from Scott Murrell. That might give Resist a chance down into the hairpin, but has to slot in behind him. So this is some nice close racing between these two drivers, but Resist might be up alongside coming down into the back chicane. He's still behind the rear wheels, and he has to tuck in behind. So that is... he's getting ever closer, but he's only got a couple more minutes to make this move stick to get himself up into P6.
He had a look into the back chicane there, but that is not somewhere you want to try and attempt to pass. It's hard enough to get one car through there, let alone two side by side. So pick your battles, Resist, try and find a more opportune spot as Murrell grazes the wall there. Resist has pace around the outside. He's going to jump on the brakes on the anchors into turn number 12, and he's got the move done. So Resist capitulates on an unfortunate happenstance. That was a weird string of words that just came out of my mouth. Behalf of Scott Murrell there, and Resist is now up into position 6.
He is. That was very, very close from Scott Murrell on the swap back. I thought for sure he was about to pit maneuver the USSR driver, but Resist managing to escape unscathed. We're under a minute now, so Brenton Foley is just going to cross the start-finish line right around now, as Josh Bagsy gets a drive-through penalty, presumably for track cut violations, I'm guessing. So we're going to have 23 laps in this race, so our calculations were pretty much correct. Going to finish off this lap, and then there'll be one more to come.
Just want to have a look at Brenton Foley's lap times. I don't think he's in any danger of losing any spots, because he is a whole 21.7 seconds ahead of Birdo. So he's put his pit strategy to perfection there, and I'm guessing that penalty for Josh Bagsy was indeed for those track cuts. We're just seeing what would have been the last straw that broke at the driving standards observer's back, or the virtual driving standards observer that we have here at Apex Rear Wing, controlling the running here at Automobilista. Time has elapsed to 0 now, so the running order at the moment is Brenton Foley first, Birdo second, Goofball Antics rounds out the podium as it stands. Nether doing a sensational job up in P4 up at the moment, but Xeris is closing on him quick. Resist behind in P6 with Murrell in 8th, Roadhog is 9th, Zarlingier is, Roadhog is 8th, and Zarlingier and Bagsy are having a side-by-side battle for 9th and 10th at the moment, but Bagsy is yet to serve that drive-through penalty. So let's keep an eye on Xeris, and let's see what he can do with one lap to go.
Yep, so it's going to be pretty close. Xeris is already caught a couple of car lengths on him through the first couple of corners of this lap. Can he steal that 4th place away from Nether Elmy? And there's actually not too many passing opportunities. I reckon Xeris' best opportunity is going to be just be as confident as he can through the back chicane, get right up onto the back of Nether, and then try to snake down the inside at one of the right-hand turns in the last sector. Nether Elmian sweating as Foley spun out. He has spun out, but he is the lead that he had over Birdo was such that Birdo hasn't even entered the first chicane yet. So
the lead's gone from 27 seconds down to 20 seconds, so not a huge
plenty of time.
And Foley's done a sensational job to keep it out of the fence, as a matter of fact. That is probably the neatest spin recovery I've ever seen.
It's very good as he takes out, I think that was Scott Murrell's bonnet. So he's only got a few more laps here, a few more corners to negotiate, and he will be bringing home his first win of the season and his first win in Apex Rear Wing since the last round of last season. But
these guys actually have one more lap. So
yeah, I thought this was the last lap. My bad. I built the hype. So Xeris looking down the inside at the first chicane, and he's going to try to snake down, but Nether closes the door. Very well done to Nether. We know he's a defensive specialist. As we see, Brenton Foley's got the lights on as he's coming across the line to take out his maiden win in this season. And it looks like Xeris has got that position on Nether Elmian, but Nether right up his ass coming down and into the back chicane. So it might be a bit of a Hail Mary move for Nether. See if he can get the job done before the end of this lap. Birdo is going to come home in second place. He's rounding the last corner right as we speak. And Goofball Antics looks like is going to be able to bring that car home in third as well. So very well done to our podium sitters as Brenton Foley continues celebrating in the runoff area at the hairpin. But it looks like that position is spoken for. Xeris has got a few car lengths now on Nether.
Yep, Nether's giving it his absolute all that he can as Goofball Antics crosses the line to round out the podium from the back of the grid. Fantastic drive from Goofball. That cannot be overstated from his perspective. But we've got a race on our hands here for fourth position. It is Xeris who's going to take that surely. There's a second gap between him and Nether Elmian behind. Xeris recovers to fourth from all the way down in 11th position. And Nether finishes in P5, which is a fantastic result for him. Resist will cross the line just behind those guys in P6. And once Scott Murrell gets across the line, that will be the last of our runners on the lead lap as Bagsy hits the wall. I'm not sure if
exploded his car, actually.
He had 2 drive-through penalties. He copped a second one. I'm not sure if that was for speeding through the pit lane. There's a lot of smoke haze on the front straight. So we might actually see Josh Bagsy's falling down the order as his engine is completely on fire. And that is the running order. Scott Murrell 7th, Roadhog 8th, Josh Bagsy in P9, Zarlingier 10th, and Rhodey, the most recent of our DNFs, succeeding Tyrrell, who finished 12th, and Rambo, who crossed the line, or rather didn't cross the line, and DNF'd to 13th position. That is our running order, and we are starting to get our podium sitters in the commentary box. So I'm going to have a chat to some of these guys, starting with Goofball Antics, who finished third. Fantastic recovery, mate. You managed to dodge all of the chaos that was happening on track from the back of the grid, and you're on the podium. Well done, mate.
Thank you. That was a real dog's breakfast in front of me.
It certainly was. Dog's breakfast is probably the best word I can think of to describe it. How did you find the car around this Surfers Paradise track?
It was a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. In all my practice, I thought, yeah, I'm getting on well with this car, and I couldn't attack the corners as hard as I have been in practice. I guess, it's in the back of your mind, don't hit the thing, don't stuff up, don't lose a wheel, because you can see how easy from practice it is to lose a wheel. And so I just thought, just keep it on the road, and hopefully I can just get through the damage happening in front of me and make something of it. I'm making a habit of this.
Yeah, certainly I'm making a habit of this. I would imagine that you're probably going to be a little bit more cautious on hyping yourself up for race 2 after the unfortunate DNF that you saw last round out. But just talk to us a little bit about the pit strategy that you're using. Do you reckon you'll use the same sort of thing for race number 2 here tonight? Or
yeah, sorry. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's just I ended up in a little bit of traffic. I had I can't remember who I had. I might have had Zallinger in front of me. And I just sort of thought, he's going to be tough to get past. So I just thought, bugger it, I'll jump into the pits now. And, if I jumped into the pits a lap later, I would have made it home a lot safer. But just because I knew he was going to be hard to pass, I thought, all right, I'll jump in now. I should have enough fuel to get through to the end. And I ran out of fuel as I came out of that last corner on the last lap there. So thankfully, it just all sort of fell into my lap.
Calculated, absolutely calculated, mate. It's got you third on the finish line. You're on the rostrum. Congratulations once again to you, mate.
Thank you.
Moving on now to second position, Birdo, who also scored a very good, was able to hold on to your P2 that you qualified in. Well done, mate. How did you find the race?
Yeah, it was good. just tried to keep it clean, really. Super underfueled it accidentally, so that after the pit stop, it was just about fuel saving, really. Doing what I could to make it to the end.
Well, keeping that in mind, you're going to be lining up alongside Brenton Foley on the front row of the grid once again, providing you get all the correct fuel in for the start of the race. Do you reckon you'll be able to mount a challenge?
He's quick around here. So's Zerus. So's Goof. So we'll see how race 2 goes. I think we did pretty well for race 1. So happy with that.
You certainly did, mate. Congratulations to you once again. 2nd position, and hopefully you can carry that form on into race 2.
Absolutely. We'll keep it clean and do absolutely everything I can to keep it on the podium.
That is the name of the game, keeping it clean around here. Moving on now to our race winner, Brenton Foley, back on the top step of the podium. Congratulations, mate.
Thanks very much. I'm stoked to be back in first for a race at ARW. I think it's only my 2nd one, so absolutely stoked.
Yeah, it's been a long time between drinks for you, and it's really, really good to see you back up at the pointy end and winning races once again. How are you finding these Chevy Opalas? They're very tail happy, and I think that lends well to your driving technique.
Yeah, they're really suiting to me quite nicely. I'm really enjoying them. This is a track that I've driven at a few times before, which is definitely helping. So overall, I'm really happy with this series so far.
But speaking of the oversteer, I've got to ask, how are your rear tyres looking by the end of the race there, and how are they looking at the first pit stop?
They were fine. I didn't change them. It's not really worth changing them in a half an hour race like this. I thought I was personally I think it's one of my best drives I've ever done. Like I didn't touch a wall once, and I didn't even get a track cut, aside from some silly last lap antics where I completely forgot about the type of diff these cars had and tried to do a little drifting, but didn't quite work. But overall, I'm really happy with my drive.
I was very surprised to see you able to keep it out of the wall when you spun it there. Were you as shocked as I was?
I was hoping that I could heat the rears up enough to flick it around, because I knew from practice it was quite hard, but I was quite surprised I didn't have to use reverse gear, yeah.
Well, you were able to keep it on the track. You only lost 7 seconds, and in the end, the margin to the driver behind you was 33 seconds. So a truly dominating win to Brenton Foley. Congratulations once again, mate.
Thanks very much.
Congratulations again to all of our podium sitters for race number 3, the first race of the 2nd round. We do have a slightly updated point standing for you now. Brenton Foley now leads the championship with 195 points, gapping Xeris behind him by 6 points to 189, with Birdo a further 55 behind in 3rd position. Mad Bird, that is a very, very juicy championship battle forming.
That is tasty, and we're going to have Xeris starting directly behind Brenton Foley on the 2nd row of the grid. So I don't think Foley's going to be able to put the Q in the rack quite as early as he was probably able to on that occasion. I think he's probably going to have to spend a little bit more time defending. Just a little bit of acknowledgement here of the hard work that that all of the on-track medical personnel do during these virtual races. That is a Queensland ambulance, I'm led to believe. Bloody marvellous.
With ambulance, of course, written in English across the bonnet and the sides of the car, as you would expect in Queensland. I reckon that car would be having a fair chance of cutting a few more laps than some of the drivers here, given some of the shenanigans we're seeing. I've just seen Tyrrell hit the wall and detonate his engine on the warm-up, so he'll have his work cut out for him behind the wheel of that thing.
He will. As we see, looked like there was a raging fire that you could probably roast some marshmallows on, and if you're mine and Stairs' friend Mitch, drop some marshmallows into on the bonnet of that car, because he's very bad at roasting marshmallows. It's a piece of unuseful trivia for all of you. So we've just got a few minutes of warm up here while they get the grid sorted for the 2nd race. Of course, the grid for the 2nd race is the finishing results of the 1st race. So Brenton Foley will start from pole once again. Oh, as we see a replay of that, it was actually surprisingly not that bad an impact. Oh, never mind. I said that and then I saw the flames. Oh, he may have shifted down into neutral. thus blowing
old
up his
money
engine.
shift.
But the actual impact with the wall, he sort of ricocheted off it and kept going quite well, I thought, as we're treated once again to this shot of an ambulance.
You have a money shift at a car like that, it's actually terrifying.
In real life? Or no? I can imagine it would be terrifying because my car doesn't like going into first at the best of times, let alone when I'm when I'm at pace. That's a man with a camera.
He's a very
Bloody-
white man. He's wearing a full bodysuit. He's either coated himself in sunscreen or he's got a whole bodysuit on, doesn't want to get sunburnt. Power to you, mate. It's brutal up in Queensland, so you keep sun smart.
What are those full body suits called? Like the
Suits,
pink guy would wear and stuff. Like,
yeah.
It's like a Japanese thing, I believe. Anyway, he's probably wearing one of them. That's one hell of a camera, must be said. Although the steward in the background with his arms crossed doesn't appear to be particularly impressed. Oh my goodness.
I don't know where that kid's looking at the front.
He's incredibly. He's just happy to be out.
He's just stoked. He's happy to be out of the house.
With his abusive older brother.
Don't mind the bloke on the far left of the screen at the bottom giving you the 1,000-yard stare through the barrel of the camera.
My goodness. I do sometimes wonder where the people that make these tracks get these photos from. If they're just like stock photos from Google, or if they just like go on Facebook and trawl through all of their friends' profile pictures. We've got the twins here. And it looks like Gary Ablett about to punch the one on the right over the back of the head.
That's how he broke his shoulder.
That is how he broke his shoulder. That's insane. I can't believe that. I mean, no wonder he was like keeling over anytime someone breathed in his direction. But Christ, I guess last game he probably didn't want to spend it on the bench. But
yeah, I thought he just dislocated or something like that. But incredibly gutsy effort for him to get out there and give it a red hot go in his final game. And not to try and compare my ailments and woes to Gary Ablett, but I tell you what, after that race, I am exhausted and I'm parched.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm suckling on some water here. I'm not sure if we've got a break lined up for this particular season as yet. We've got a very sternly disapproving man on the on the side of the track as our producer does not answer my question. We've got the Tim Tam thing again, but let's not play that. Matty, you go get yourself some beverage, and I'll prattle on for just a little bit.
I'll be back in a moment's notice.
No worries at all. So, got a good shot here of what looks like, I was going to say a Hilux, but that appears to be a Chevrolet badge on the front of it, and an array of lights. So that's presumably some variety of steward's vehicle. And a man posing like he's in a magazine beside it. Yeah, that is indeed a steward's vehicle. I can see the big, oversized fire extinguishers in the back, and got a lovely slow zoom on a very well-postured woman. You can see around the track a bunch of hoardings for Automobilista Australia. We have nicked this track off of them, so thank you to them for optimizing this track somewhat. Believe they used it for their Boxer Cup series, so again, thank you very much. This man ignoring that flashing light to the right of him as he looks out onto the track. They've all got very odd proportions, and that's a beautiful crane. It's bloody marvelous. That's quite a striking. It's quite a striking blue, isn't it, Matty?
Very like a sky blue, baby blue kind of thing. Sort of thing you might find in a sports car from the 70s or maybe the early 80s.
I'm like,
here's some chimneys. Oh,
very round chimneys. Jesus.
Especially given how angular everything else in this track is.
I was about to say, it's very. I expected to see a lot more jank in those chimneys, but the jank it does not appear to be in evidence.
Certainly not. Decidedly unjanky those chimneys are, and for that I commend them.
So I reckon we're speaking of jank, those trees. not matching up to the fantastic pre-rendered 1.5 second repeat of water animation that we've got going on in the background there.
Bob Ross
I
would
think
be turning in his grave if he saw those trees.
I think it's safe to say, Matty, that we're scraping the bottom of the barrel for small talk.
I think we're about halfway through the wood at the bottom of the barrel at this point.
we're gnawing away at the timber.
Getting the devil's cut out, if you will.
But we do have 8 seconds left in this warm-up session, so we'll be put out of our misery very soon. Brenton369 just saying, I would love to smoke those chimneys. That is Brenton Foley, so hope you're concentrating on your psychologically amping yourself up for the race to come, Foley. Not thinking too much about smoking chimneys. Oh, that doesn't translate very well to the Z dimension, does it?
Very two-dimensional characters we've got sitting over here having a yak.
Well, you know, they're from Queensland, so they're all made of paper, aren't they?
Contentious.
I'm not sure what that was meant to be, like what sort of put down that was meant to be. Nevertheless, I went ahead with it. We are here for race number 2, and the siren has just gone, which means that our guys have got a minute to get out on track, and then we'll be starting our formation lap for race number 2. While we've got a couple of seconds though, make sure you hit that thumbs up button on the video. Give us a like, it does help a lot. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and the bell if you want to be notified whenever we go live. If you want to support us, hop over to patreon.com/apexrearwing. If you want to give us $1 or $2 of your money a month. These shows are quite a lot of effort to put on, so anything you can give does, it's that little bit of incentive and a little bit of encouragement to keep going. And hop onto our Facebook page as well. Give us a like over there, Apex Rear Wing on Facebook.
It's been fantastic to see everyone's support in the chat. #Rhodium. Get it back out, folks, because we're getting pretty close to another race start for race number 2, and Madbird has the starting grid.
I do indeed. So Brenton Foley taking out the first win in... Actually, it's been a pretty decent run of form for him. That's the first win in 4 races with AFX Rear Wing, as he did take out the win for the last round of the last season. So he'll be starting us out on pole position. Behind him is Berto, who had a solid first race, just sort of kept it tidy, as he said. Behind him, Goofball Antics, who started at the rear of the grid, but an early pit stop and a bit of shrewd saving saw him come across the line with no more fuel in his tank. So hopefully he can manage to do it with a little bit more margin for error this time around. Xeris behind him, who also started towards the back of the grid and spent most of his time trying to get up through the grid. Had a few dramas on his way. He starts out from 4th place. Can he get back onto the top step of the podium? Now the Romian, who was looking good for a 4th place until Xeris stole it away from him in the last lap. Very good run in the first race for him. Can he get the elbows out and hold on to that top 5 position? Resist, who was running in the podium positions pretty safely early on in the first race, but had a bit of a tangle with the wall and damage, which sent him down. He starts out from 6th. Scott Murrell in his debut for Apex Rear Wing. Pretty decent showing in the first race. Some good tight racing with Resist just ahead of him. He starts out in 7th. Roadhog had a bit of a messy race, a few spins and stuff that he would not want to be wanting to put on his mantelpiece. So he, in the hot, that is HDT rather, Marlboro car, he starts out from 8th. Josh Bagsy in 9th place in a car that the less said about it, the better. Zarlingear in 10th place after a late DNF on one of the last laps of the race. #Rhodium starting out from 11th place. Let's hope that he can find his way up through the grid. Give all of his supporters in the chat a bit of something to scream about. Tyrrell starting out from 12th after DNFing in the previous race. And Rambo hoping to go further than 4 minutes in this second race after he DNF'd just 3 minutes into the first one, Matty.
So we're just seeing the last of the cars forming up at the back of the grid. We're all set to go now, and the lights will be on very soon, folks. 2 lights, 3 lights, 4, We're underway on the Gold Coast. Great jump from Xeris behind there on the second row of the grid, but Goofball's looking pretty good as well. Pretty tidy for the front two guys as well. They're pretty orderly as they make the run down into turn number 1. Foley has the line and he marginally has the position. He's going to pull ahead as he jumps on the brakes into the first chicane. And they're pulling in line astern. Xeris has made up 1 spot already. He's third as it stands at the moment. He's already gapping Goofball Antics by a substantial amount, trying to go around the outside of Birdo into the hairpin, but nothing doing there. It is Brenton Foley pulling away at the front once again with a gap of 1.1 seconds already on Birdo, with Xeris right behind him.
Yeah, pretty tidy for the rest of the field as well. Scott Murrell made up a place on Resist, which I'm sure Resist is not particularly happy about. Looks pretty tidy, if a little bit unsettling going through that back chicane, but everyone's gone through it cleanly. So that's the important thing at the front. Xeris trying to go down the inside of Birdo at turn 5, and they knock into each other a little bit of a messy overtake, bit of door bumping. Birdo trying to hang it around the outside, then he would have the inside, but he isn't able to do so, and he has to slot in behind. So Xeris already up into second with about 2 seconds up the road to Brenton Foley, but he, I imagine, will begin cutting into that advantage very soon. Birdo, however, still right on the back of him, so very well might have a run down the start-finish straight.
Not the cleanest of overtakes there for Xeris, but it was an overtake nonetheless, and there didn't seem to be a substantial amount of damage done, if any at all, to either of those cars there. So Xeris will cross the line to start lap 2, up into second place already from the 4th place that he started in, and he's got a bit of time already, 2.8 seconds to claw back on Brenton Foley, who is on a burner. He's on a heater of a lap already. He's on a heater of a race, a heater of a night, if you will. Brenton Foley's form here at the Gold Coast has been nothing short of phenomenal that we've seen so far. But now that Xeris has no cars between himself and the leader, can he pull up and do anything about it? We'll keep an eye on those gaps and see how they're doing as the race progresses. But it's a 15-point differential between first and second for the points format that we're using here for the Super Sprint format. 75 points for a win compared to 60 for second place, and then it drops back to 48 for third. So every spot you can make up on the podium counts in a big way.
Yeah, it's a lot of points. So of course, if Xeris does manage to get the win and Brenton Foley comes in second, then Xeris will retake the lead of the championship by, I think, 4 points or 5 points or something thereabouts. Whereas, of course, if Brenton Foley can hang on to that first place, then he will stretch his advantage, which it's been a while, I think, since Xeris found himself not in the lead of a championship. So the gap has already come down to 1.7 seconds. So Xeris cutting about half a second out of Brenton Foley's advantage over the last lap. And setting the fastest lap of the race is Xeris, surprising no one, with a 1:21.6. And Brenton Foley didn't actually set a lap last time around, so must have gotten a corner cut. He said in the post-race interview last time he only got the 1 corner cut, so he's already matched his first race effort with less than 4 minutes run. Hopefully he can keep his nose clean for the rest of it.
Just caught Resist in the background there, going a little bit wide and letting Roadhog through into 7th position. But we're on board now with Xeris as he paces his way through the back chicane there. Takes it nice and neat and tidy, gets as close to the wall as you'd like. That seems to be the strategy around this Gold Coast circuit, just inching it as millimetre perfect to the edges of the concrete here to maximise the amount of real estate you're using on the road surface. And it's a good way to get a few extra tenths under your belt as you go around here. And he's already made up 3 tenths on this lap alone, and we're not even through the 3rd sector yet. So we should expect to see that time come down a little bit. Xeris is really on the pace here.
He is, but of course catching up is one thing, overtaking is another. Zarlingier has DNF'd. I'm not sure what's happened there. I think we've got a replay of it here. So it is the back chicane that is causing so many dramas tonight, and oh my goodness, oh my goodness. So he was out of the way, and then he swerved back out onto the racing line, nearly cleaned up. I think that was Rody and also Tyrrell, but looks like that everyone got through unscathed apart from Zarlingier. So that's unfortunate for the USSR driver, but luckily didn't take anybody out along with him.
While we wait for Xeris to catch up to Brenton Foley at the front of the race here, we've got a pretty nice scrap happening for 3rd place at the moment. Birdo is doing his best to hold off Goofball Antics behind him. The gap between those two is academic at this point. It's just a matter of Goofball Antics trying to find a line up the inside of Birdo and make a pass through a corner. Obviously, he can't really do so at the chicane, and even further back still, we're seeing a little bit of a battle between Nether and Scott Murrell for P5. Bit of a train form behind these two. We'll focus on the guys here racing for the final step on the podium. Goofball looking to make it 2 in a row and not looking to repeat his jinx from last round. But Birdo's doing quite a good job in third at the moment, holding him off for the time being, Mad Bird.
He is, and it isn't a particularly easy track to overtake on, because most of the overtaking opportunities are into quite quick corners, which can easily turn into an accident if you misjudge them. Looks like Xeris has cut the advantage down to 1.1 seconds, which is about where it was at the start of this lap. So perhaps any closer, and he's going to start to run into issues. You know, seeing his braking and turn-in points, which can be a pretty big issue with how precise you need to be going through those chicanes. If the car is blocking where you're usually looking, then it can cause some issues. Birdo still in third place, but Goofball Antics putting a lot of pressure on him.
Yeah, he is indeed. Birdo's doing a pretty good job of holding that gap, though, meanwhile, and not letting Goofball get too close to him. He's pulling away just a little bit. Meanwhile, the gap at the front has stayed pretty constant between the two gentlemen you're seeing on screen here at the moment. Brenton Foley leading the race and Xeris second, with a gap between those two hovering around a second at the moment. So I think Xeris is just taking it easy for a little bit here, waiting for the right time to pounce. We saw that often in seasons gone by of Apex Rear Wing. He wouldn't make a rash decision. He's got most of the race still to go at the moment, probably about 21, maybe 19 laps still to go, or thereabouts in this race. So he's got plenty of time to make a move here. Doesn't want to do anything drastic, and he's already going to start pulling a gap. He may even have a little bit of a draft down the main straight. So we might be on for a move into the hairpin here, but we'll see what happens.
We will. So Xeris with the fastest lap of the race with a 1:21.4, and that's not what Brenton Foley wants to see. Last lap for him was a 1:21.8, so 0.4 of a second faster was Xeris, and you can see...
Oh, Rambo's hit the wall. Sorry to jump in front of you, but he's just coming to a stop at the end of the back chicane there, and that'll be a DNF for Rambo again. Surely it certainly is. What a shame for him. It is a pointless, quite literally, weekend for Rambo, unfortunately. And he's in the garage having shed his wheel, one of his bonnet, one of his wheels, and Roadhog is actually already pitted. He's made a quick splash and dash for a little bit of fuel by the looks of it, and that's a massive impact for Rambo.
Yeah, that was that's not what you want to see for the Italian driver, but as you did say, Roadhog has hopped in. It looks like it was just fuel, so he's perhaps trying the goofball strategy, get himself some clear air and a full tank, and see if he can get it to the end from where he is at the moment. So he's down in 11th, but of course no one else's pit as far as I'm aware. Perhaps Tyrrell, because he's down there sort of with him. But at the front, Xeris still tracking down Brenton Foley. The gap is under half a second now, and the tow is definitely going to start to come into effect now as they come down the start-finish straight, Matty.
That gap is only coming down marginally, so if Brenton Foley thought he had one of the best races of his career in Apex Rear Wing so far, just gone, he's going to have to pull something phenomenal out of the bag to keep Xeris behind him now, because this is going to be a fantastic scrap for the win of this race. It will be, hopefully, if things stay the way they are. At the front, he's run it a little bit wide, and Xeris tried to capitalise there, but there just wasn't an inside line for him to find, so he's going to have to sit back behind him for the time being and try and have a look into turn 11 on the way out of the chicane. Just keep it nice and tidy through here. Make sure getting through here is a priority. You don't really want to worry about your speed too much, although of course you want to worry about your speed a little bit, but not too much to the point where you send it into the wall. Big slide on the way out for Xeris. He's got pace behind him, and he means business.
He does. This is quite good. We've got a battle for first, we've got a battle for third, and we've got a battle for fifth. And all of them are quite close. So Scott Murrell's closed right up on Nether as they come out of the back straight, and Birdo's actually put a little bit of a gap on Goofball Antics. So well done to Birdo, trying to protect that third position. And God, that's getting close between Nether and Scott Murrell. But at the front, we've got Brenton Foley coming out of the last corner once again, and it looks like the gap's actually expanded a little bit between himself and Xeris. So out to 0.7 of a second now, where it was half a second the previous lap. So doing a good job, Brenton Foley, just keeping his lap times consistent and quick, and not giving Xeris any opportunities to dive up the inside.
Nether's pulling into the pits now, so he's the second driver to blink and take an early stop. We've got just under 20 minutes left to run, so we're around about a third race distance, and Josh Bagsy is chasing him into the pit lane as well. They'll both be coming in for a quick splash and dash of some fuel, fueling up to the finish. Pretty quick stop for fuel actually for Nether, so hopefully he can run it to the end. He may be aiming to fuel save here and save the time in the pit stop, but I'm not sure what the strategy is going to be like there. The pit lane speed limit is 80 kilometers an hour here, so you don't lose a massive amount of time pitting. And he's going to come out around about the same part of the track as Roadhog, but we do still have this battle up the front raging on very, very hard, and Xeris is all over Brenton Foley like a cheap suit.
He is cheap suit maiden surface paradise. As big lock up for Brenton Foley coming into the last couple of corners here, and Xeris is all over the back of him, and Xeris has set purple sectors in sector 1 and sector 2, so he's looking good for a faster slap once again. But Brenton Foley is not off the pace himself, but Xeris does set the fastest lap of the race by about a tenth of a second. So it was a 1:21.2 for Xeris and a 1:21.4 for Brenton Foley. So very, very close between these two.
I've just seen Tyrrell duck out of the pits as well, so he hadn't taken a pit stop earlier like you were suspecting, and he's now circulating in 11th. He's the last runner on the track at the moment, and Resist is coming into the pits as well. So he'll be coming in for a quick stop. iRambo's just in the YouTube chat saying, not my night or track. Oh well, have fun for the rest of the race, gents. Bring on next week's track. Really unfortunate for you, mate. Unlucky, but it was great to see you having a go, and it'll be really good to see what you can do at Interlagos. They're side by side for the lead into turn 11. Xeris trying to have a look around the outside. He knew there wasn't going to be much he could do there, but it's shaken up Brenton Foley a bit. Xeris almost fancied a chance down the inside into turn number 12, but he can't do anything here. Great racing from both these guys at the moment, and you can expect to see him move on the run into turn 14 here, perhaps from Xeris. Let's see what he can do. He's trying to be a little bit later on the brakes. Brenton Foley pulling a tight line into the apexes, and he holds the lead for the end of one more lap as it stands at the moment. But this is a great battle between these two.
It really is. Brenton Foley looking like he's on the edge. We've got 17 minutes left to run, so we're not even at half distance, and Brenton Foley's been under pressure for pretty much the entire race thus far.
Just want to interrupt because they're side by side for third position behind. Goofball got a great exit out of the final corner there, and he's trying to have a look up the inside of Birdo. He doesn't have the pace though. Birdo's going to pull back in front. Can he pull it up nice and stable on the brakes? He does so indeed, and that gap has gone back out just a little bit between Birdo and Goofball Antics. It's pretty academic though at this point. Goofball just has to try and get that better run through the final corner once again, because that seems to be a strong point in that particular battle.
Does indeed, as we see them bouncing. They look so out of control as Xeris actually clouts the wall just ever so slightly. They look so out of control going through that back chicane. And I reckon Xeris has got a lot more pace through there. He seems to be right onto the back of Brenton Foley every time they come out of that corner. As we see a quick replay. No, we don't. Do apologise. Sorry, just saw a quick replay of Birdo hitting the wall on the final corner. So that would have been why Goofball Antics had such an incredible run on him. But Birdo's managed to make up for it and is holding on to that third place at the moment.
Gap between these two at the front is still around half a second, so not a massive amount of leeway being able to be eked out by either of these drivers at the moment. It's a 1:21.4 for Brenton Foley. No, it's a 1:21.9, I should say. 1:21.4 is his best lap. And Xeris crosses the line for a 1:21.8. So they're both roughly on par in terms of their lap speed at the moment as well. So these guys are really just giving it all they can. We know Xeris can go faster. He did a 1:20.8, I think it was, in qualifying or practice, I believe. So he's pretty quick, but he'll probably have a different setup, different fuel load as well at the moment. Once that fuel tank starts to empty a little bit, we might see a little bit more pace from both of these guys. Make the cars handle a little differently as well. That's the crucial part that we keep forgetting about. Big slide from both of those gentlemen on the exit of the chicane, but they hold it together. Good run from Xeris though. Can't really do anything at turn 11.
Yeah, I'm just I'm worried because one of them is gonna take that back chicane a little bit too aggressively, trying to get an advantage, and they're gonna put it into their race really, really quick. So they've done very well to go through it cleanly for the 11 laps we've had so far. Just hope they can continue to do so for the next 12 or so. as we're just ticking over 15 minutes now. So we're at half race distance. It is, of course, 30 minutes plus a lap. So last time out, it was about a 23 lap race, as Xeris has peeled off into the pits. So possibly going for an undercut. Have to try to keep an eye on him, see if he changes tyres as well as fuel, or if he just splashes and dashes. Brenton Foley continues on for another lap, so would expect to probably see him in next time. So Xeris' car not... Sorry, go ahead.
Just going to try and time Xeris' pit stop. He took about 7 seconds of fuel there. Not sure what the flow rate is of these cars or how much fuel he's actually taken on. But that'll be a good point of comparison when Brenton Foley comes in, if I remember to watch his pit stop as well. And that means that Brenton Foley is now currently leading the race by 13 seconds over the battle for Birdo. Big slide there for him once again. I've got to get used to Brenton Foley sliding out of the back chicane. He does pretty well at this point. But now Birdo is still holding off Goofball Antics by about a second. So it's still a pretty even scrap between those two as well. And Xeris has rejoined the race in 4th position, 25.8 seconds behind Brenton Foley.
Yeah, so as Brenton Foley leaves, if he is pitting and he's not changing his tyres, then he's going to want to stop using them up quite so much. He's leaving a lot of rubber all over the racetrack. As he comes around the last corner, looks like he's committing to the inside, so he looks like he will be coming into the pits. We didn't see Xeris' car go up on jacks, so it looks like no tyres for Xeris. Brenton Foley, of course, probably a little bit harsher on his tyres than Xeris is. Where is Xeris? So he's coming through the last few corners of the racetrack. He's in fact coming around the last corner as we speak onto the start-finish straight. And Brenton Foley still stationary. He's just started moving now.
4 seconds of fuel he took.
How much again, sorry?
He only took 4 seconds of fuel, so he's going to come out with a gap of an extra 3 seconds on paper over Xeris at the moment, and he's gone out ahead. He's down to 3rd at the moment with Birdo and Goofball having shot up, and now the gap between those two is, there it is, about 3.9 seconds. But Brenton Foley will have a tiny little bit less temperature in his tyres and a little bit more weight in his car, so that gap may come down a little bit. So Brenton Foley going for the fuel-saving strategy by the looks of things.
We do know that Xeris isn't the best at strategy either, so it could easily be that Xeris is overfueled, or, as you say, Brenton Foley perhaps underfueling immensely to try to gain that little bit of an advantage. But he's still got 12 minutes to go, so he won't want to be coasting quite so much. Birdo and Goofball Antics still ahead of them, yet to pit. Birdo doing his very best to hold on to that 3rd position. But behind them, Xeris is absolutely pushing. You can see the puffs of tyre smoke as he's trying to catch up to Brenton Foley and undo those few seconds. The gap is about 3 seconds exactly even.
Being a race car from 1986, they don't really come with adjustable engine modes in the cockpit. The engine mode is what position your foot is on the throttle, so you can't really burn off any excess fuel per se. And speaking of excess fuel, Goofball Antics is going to come in and get a little bit of that liquid goodness into his tank to push him to the end of the race. We're getting pretty close to 2/3 distance here, so he'll be on for a pretty quick final stint. And that leaves Birdo as the only front runner who hasn't pitted yet so far. I'm not sure what the rest of the guys have done. I'm guessing, given that they're all relatively similar to where they started the race in terms of their position, I think that leaves Birdo as the last driver to come in for a pit when he does.
I reckon it is. I reckon that it exactly is. So Goofball Antics hoping to get a bit of an undercut with some clear air maybe. Where has he come out? So he's come out in 4th place behind Xeris with oodles of space in front of him. So he does have a bit of space to drive through as Xeris goes very leery over the back chicane and just narrowly misses the wall. And the gap still around 3 seconds between himself and Brenton Foley as we see Goofball Antics getting a bit of a skid on out the back chicane. Eyes turn to Birdo as he comes through the last corner. Presumably he's going to be coming into the pits, and that back of that Opala is wiggling all over the place, so I reckon those tyres might be hurting.
He's the pits now, and that'll be the last of the stoppers. So I haven't really seen any of the other drivers taking tyres. We heard Brenton Foley say that he didn't change his in the first race, so it may not even be the most important thing for these cars to have to do. Fuel being the most crucial thing. I'm just going to watch Birdo and see what he does as he comes in. He's not up on the jacks. So no fresh tyres for Birdo either, and he's only taken a few seconds of fuel himself. So I'd say you are right in that Xeris would have overfueled the car. but he has brought that gap. Well, the gap is still around 3 seconds actually between those two, so he hasn't made any particular ground on Brenton Foley.
Goofball Antics. Sorry to cut across you. Goofball Antics has managed to jump Birdo in the pit stop, so it's pretty close actually. The gap's about what it was beforehand, but with the positions reversed. So Goofball Antics flashing the lights. He's excited, and presumably his car, which is modelled after Kit from Knight Rider, is saying, I don't know what Kit said, something. I imagine it was robotic voice, but regardless, he's managed to get himself back up into that third place, and Birdo now has it all to do in the last 9.5 minutes of this race.
I think Knight Rider or Kit, I should say, had a very eerily human voice, as a matter of fact. It sounded like you just had a bloke trapped in your center console. So either way, Goofball Antics and bloke trapped in his center console will be pretty stoked with where they are at the moment. I completely neglected to look at their race off pit road, as I was too busy looking at what Brenton Foley and Xeris were doing up ahead. But it was a great jump there from Goofball Antics to get the undercut on Birdo, and those extra couple of laps for Birdo, I reckon, would have harmed him just a little bit, as he was trying to, I imagine, save fuel in the final stages of that stint.
So Brenton Foley still with 2.8 seconds over Xeris, and Ike Shepherd just in the chat saying really good consistent times from them both. It is indeed. They are both lapping, what was it? Brenton Foley last lap was a 121.8, Xeris was a 121.5, so he is that little bit quicker, but Brenton Foley seems to be able to manage this gap pretty well so far.
I've just noticed that Roadhog is DNF from the race, unfortunately. We're not sure what's happened to him there. Haven't seen any of his body panels around the track or anything like that. So he is into the pits, and we are down to 10 runners as well for this race once again. So Tyrrell is the last running driver on the track as it stands at the moment. And with just over 8 minutes to go, plus one lap, we've got 10 runners on the track chasing big points hauls. And we're just having a look at a moment there.
Yeah, it was a bit of a hairy moment in this battle here between Goofball Antics and Birdo.
Tyrrell is fenced in a big way. He's lost body panels and he's DNF from the race as well, so he may get a replay. I'm not sure, but that was a big impact from Tyrrell.
I'm amazed we haven't had safety car intervention so far this race, considering some of the accidents we've had. Probably good that we haven't, because otherwise we'd be having a safety car every couple of laps. Someone knocks their tyre off. But as it stands, Foley with 2.8 seconds still over Xeris, so that gap not changing very much. I reckon the tyre wear might be affecting them both to the point where Xeris can't really push as hard as he would like to on the back of the leading car Foley.
Yeah, I reckon Xeris will be kicking himself that he overfueled the car for 3 seconds longer than he needed to. Won't be a huge penalty in terms of his weight, but maybe a little bit, because it seems to have been slowing the gap a little bit, but it's actually coming down. The gap is now down to 2 seconds, so I think Foley's made a little bit of an error. Oh, that's what happened to Roadhog earlier. I was a little bit worried there. I caught that on the edge of the screen. I thought Foley had crashed out, but that is what happened to Roadhog. Had a massive incident at the chicane, which is really killing a lot of drivers' races here, unfortunately, and that's what brings us down to the current 9 runners we have at the moment. But the gap at the front is now down to 2 seconds, so Brenton Foley's lost a little bit of time somewhere, and that'll be music to Xeris' ears.
And he's got lap traffic coming up, so he's got Rhodey just ahead of him. He's probably going to catch him just as they hit the first chicane, which is not where you want to catch some traffic. Rhodey actually might get through of it ahead of Foley, and it looks like he will. But that's still going to cost Foley some time, because you've got to worry about another car on track, which you usually won't. Rhodey gets out of the way nice and quick. Very good work for him. And then hangs it around the outside. So Xeris then has to contend with Rhodey parking himself right on the racing line. So no harm, no foul though. And Xeris manages to get through on that one. So we see Tyrrell here. Oh, Jesus, that is I will say this for the back chicane, it causes some dramatic accidents.
It's like a competition between the guys to see how hard they can hit that wall at the moment. Just want to draw your attention as well to the battle that we have at the moment for 5th and 6th between Scott Murrell, who's just glanced at the wall on the exit of the chicane at the start of the lap, and Resist leading the way in 5th. They had a great scrap where Resist just got past him through the back 90-degree corners in 11, 12 and 13. And now Scott Murrell is going to be doing his absolute darndest to try and catch back onto the back of the USSR machine in front of him.
He will be at the front. Brenton Foley, that gap is down to 1.1 seconds, and Xeris is driving the absolute hell out of that car, trying to catch onto the back of Brenton Foley. He's sliding it out through most of the corners, which wouldn't be helping his pace, but it's definitely putting the moz on Brenton Foley a little bit. As we see here, Resist all over the back of Scott Murrell as they come off the back straight. So Resist made a mistake somewhere, and we got in the chat just saying Tyrrell didn't want to stop, and the car didn't want to stop, and he just slid straight on. And we've got Greg Turra, who unfortunately isn't racing with us tonight, saying so many deaths. Yes, the back chicane has got a higher body count than the... I was going to say, no, never mind, I won't. Brenton Foley continuing to hold on to this first position by 1.1 seconds. We're down to 4 minutes left to run in this race, plus a lap. It's getting very, very close to the end here. Brenton Foley can just about sniff it, I reckon.
He just about can, but Xeris is all over the back of him, as he always likes to be, piling the pressure on by the ton on Brenton Foley. We know Brenton Foley can be pretty rock solid with a guy behind him. There were some pretty great battles between those two guys in the Caterhams in time gone by, and we're going to hope to see some of that great battling replicated between these two in the closing stages of this race. Just want to take some quick stock takes. So Brenton Foley is leading, with Xeris chasing him down, closing the gap and forming a very nice battle for the lead of the race by the end of it here. Goofball Antics is a great margin of about a second and a half behind him on Berto in fourth. Those two are about 15 seconds behind the lead at the moment. Scott Murrell has just gotten past Resist and a further 23 seconds behind Berto. Josh Baggs has netted himself another drive-through penalty in the meantime, which I imagine is for track limits again, like we saw in the first race. Resist is currently in that scrap for P5 with Scott Murrell, with Netherrealm in behind them in 7th position, pretty lonely 7th with 8 seconds ahead of him, and 49 seconds behind him, where Rhodey is currently battling, he's currently lap traffic to 3rd and 4th at the moment, sitting in 8th position, who is just ahead of Josh Baggsy. Josh Baggsy looks like he slapped the wall in a big way because his lifting that goes through the back straight. He's got some suspension damage and he's missing his bonnet as well. Whoa, Berto! Berto's had a huge crash and he's out.
Oh no! So look, it's the back chicane once again, and that car does not look like it is stricken by the side of the road. And here comes the Baggsy that we were just talking about. So was chasing down, or attempting to chase down, Goofball Antics, and just straight into... Whoa! That's a big one. But we better get back to this battle for the lead, because Xeris is right on the back of Brenton Foley as they come across the start-finish straight, coming down towards the first chicane. Brenton Foley's going to be able to cover that off, but Xeris now got the gap down to 0.2 of a second. We've only got 2 minutes left to run in this race, plus a lap. Xeris looks for the inside, but nothing doing, but does just put the thought in Brenton Foley's head, he's going to have a dive down here, and he's got to think about that. Swipes the wall a little bit on the exit of turn 1, and we've got a little bit of picture-in-picture here of Berto recovering, just coming through the last corner here. And that car's still running?
It's still full,
Somehow he's still running, and he didn't lose any tyres.
He's pitting now. I'd say he's coming into... if he's fixing damage, then power to him to say, Xeris! Xeris straight off! Xeris straight off at the end of the back straight. He did that during the first race, and we commented on the turning circle of these things. Oh no! And look how long it's taking him. Goofball Antics is coming through the corner that Xeris has just exited. So Brenton Foley has just been handed an absolute free kick for the last minute of this race. If you're Goofball Antics coming around turn 11 and seeing Xeris in front of you in a puff of smoke, what's the first thought that comes into your mind? Yum. Yum-o, indeed. Tasty is what I would think if I were Goofball Antics. I'm not sure he's... himself is what he did there. Yeah, just completely the same thing that happened in the first race. So I guess at a certain point you reach your braking zone, you realise, look, I'm not getting this stopped, I might as well save my tyres. And you just skate off into the runoff area, but you just lose so much time because those cars are so slow to get back facing the right way. And despite how delicious Goofball Antics might have found Xeris being in a puff of smoke ahead of him, it doesn't look like it's delicious enough to compel him to catch him.
because Xeris is streaking off into the distance once again.
So it'll be 23 laps here once again as the timer ticks down to 0. So Brenton Foley's just got to come around and complete one extra lap after he crosses the line to win this race by another staggering margin. After that uncharacteristic mistake from Xeris.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic. So it's, it has to be said, Brenton Foley was doing an incredible job of defending without that issue, without that mistake from Xeris. So incredible driving from Brenton Foley entire round as Josh Bagsy gets yet another penalty by the looks of it. Not a race to write home about for Josh Bagsy at this stage.
Final lap has just begun for Brenton Foley as he crosses the start-finish line, and this will be starting the final lap for all the other runners as well. I'm not sure who's on the lead lap at this point. I think it's everyone in the top 6, with Birdo now a lap down due to the damage. Let's look at the battle for 4th at the moment. This is now the battle for 4th after that incident with Birdo earlier, and there's really scrapping here big time. Scott Murrell's got the lights ablaze here. He means business, and Resist is not letting himself be pushed around. These two have got one more lap to go of this as they take very varied lines on the exit there. A little bit of lap traffic as Bagsy is still pacing around this circuit. He's going to have to come in for another pit lane penalty because he sped in the pit lane during his last one. But Resist has the draft. He's got to run. Is he going to have pace around the outside? Scott's trying to close the door just a little bit, but they're side by side. Scott is going to have position as they head into the main chicane for the time being. There's still a couple more corners left. Let's have a look and see what they do into the hairpin. I'm not sure what they're up ahead at the moment. They're still pretty far in terms of gaps. Look at Scott Murrell, massive tyre slide there from him. And Resist has got to be licking his lips. Talk about yum, Madbird.
Speaking of yum and licking your lips, Brenton Foley, the lights are flashing as he comes down the start-finish straight to take out the second win of the night. And that is 2 wins on the trot the entire round for Brenton Foley. Very well done to him. Xeris gives it the wiggle as he comes down the start-finish straight to take home 2nd place in his first podium of the night. How often can you say Xeris only gets 1 podium in a night? Bloody well done. And Goofball Antics rounding out yet another 3rd position. So on the podium once again for Goofball Antics. This battle, however, still to be decided, Matty.
Very, very far from over there. I was very worried. I thought Resist was going to punt himself into the wall there, overcorrecting, but he's held it together. But the gap between these two is just a little bit too far now. I don't think there's really anything Resist can do with a gap of 2/3 of a second ahead of him to Scott Murrell. So Scott is going to cross the line in his debut round. He's got the lights flashing, and for good reason, because he just recorded a 4th place finish in only his 2nd Apex Rear Wing race. Congratulations, mate. Well done.
Absolutely. Xeris coming home in 6th, and we've just got Josh Bagsy has been disqualified. I'm not 100% sure what he's done, but I imagine it's something to do with an immense cloud of smoke and tyre tracks. Netherelmian comes home in 6th place, Birdo in 7th, and Rhodey ends up coming home in 8th, 3 positions up from where he started, so very well done to him. And of course, we had hashtag Rhodium. And we had Tyrrell, Roadhog, Rambo, and Zarlingir are DNFs for race number 2. However, I do have our podium sitters here in the box with me. So first of all, we've got Heathy once again. So 2 3rd places on the trot, and looked like you're a little bit less marginal on fuel that time around, mate.
Yeah, that's more like it, isn't it? It's different fuel strategy this time around, and I'm madly trying to calculate how much fuel did I use last race. I used what would have been 90 something litres. No, it wasn't 90 something litres. I topped up with oh, okay, screw it. We'll just put this much in, and luckily it was just enough that I managed to get out just in front of Birdo.
Yeah, and then I was going to say a fantastic battle with Birdo for the entire race up until that stage, and then looked like it was going to be a good battle vice versa, but then Birdo just kind of took himself out of it.
Yeah, I was genuinely disappointed with that, because I said to him at the time that was 27, 28 minutes of, oh, Jesus Christ, what's going on? But yeah, I enjoy racing close with people like that when you know you can trust them not to do something silly. And so yeah, I was having a good time. He did ask when I got back out in front, he asked if I'd been if he'd been holding me up. And I said, no, I was quite happy to sit behind him, because I was not doing anything silly. I was just trying to stay out of the back of him. Whereas as soon as I was in front, it was, oh, I'll take this corner a little bit faster, and then halfway through it, oh, maybe I won't next time.
It's always handy to have that sort of to have a carrot to follow, because if someone's going to make a mistake, it's going to be the carrot that makes the mistake.
Nom, 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 nom. Yes, carrots are good.
Well, very well done, Heathy. Like I said, 2 podiums on the trot for you there.
Thank you.
And make that 3 podiums out of 4 races so far this season. So you're looking solid in the standings at the moment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As we go to our second place, man, Xeris, speaking of 27, 28 minutes worth of... It looked like you were driving the absolute tyres off of that Opala trying to catch Brenton Foley.
Yeah, that was really, really good, and Brenton had just enough pace and the legs off of the corners to keep me behind him, and then obviously caught up in the final laps and just went a bit deep on the brakes. They just decided to die on me, so no, that was heaps good from Foley.
Yeah, we did comment that you seemed to have a lot more pace through the back chicane because you were sort of on the back of him coming into that first right-hander. That first right-angle left-hander. But it happened in the first race as well. You just sort of, like you say, the brakes just went kaput and you just slid straight on into the runoff area. And it looks like the turning circle on these isn't great.
Yeah, it's bloody awful. So, yeah, there's no brake ducting on these cars or nothing you can adjust. So a lot of the race was also trying not to overuse the brakes. But obviously in the last couple of laps when we're really racing, then yeah, you make small mistakes like that and you just go deep somewhere.
Fair enough, but you are the sort of person who's always happy to see someone sort of take the fight to you. So not being in the lead of the championship now, leading into Interlagos, how do you like your chances of getting that back?
Well, given my track record, they're pretty good chances, but I do like to see other people winning, so I'm looking forward to fighting for it.
Very well done, and we are hoping to see you fighting for it as well. Congratulations on your second place. On to Brenton Foley with 2 wins on the trot, and I looked, and you've actually won 2 races before this season with Apex Rear Wing, so you've made 100% improvement on that record tonight. Very well done, Brenton.
Oh, that's even better. I must have forgotten about one of them. But yeah, overly stoked with that. I had to work a lot harder for that one, as Zira said. There was a couple of spots that he had me on, and then a couple of spots that I had him on. And I knew straight away from many previous experiences that if he slips by, I'm not getting that position back. So I had to defend pretty hard for a while, and I finally beaten him one-on-one.
Yeah, so an out-and-out race, and you did very well defending for pretty much the entire race. There was less than a few seconds between you for most of it, and then how relieved were you when you saw the puff of smoke in your rearview mirror and him go sailing off into the runoff?
Yeah, there was a bit of a weight off my shoulders, and I could kind of relax for the last 2 laps and not worry about putting it in the fence or anything like that, because obviously when you're in a battle, especially with someone like Xeris, like I had to drive at 110%, taking risks everywhere, which I didn't really want to do, and I didn't do in race 1. So yeah, it was a lot of relief.
How were you on fuel by the end? Because we noticed that Xeris fueled for about 3 seconds longer than you, which gave you a pretty decent gap when you came out of the pits. So we were wondering whether you'd underfueled or if he'd overfueled.
I think we were chatting during the race and he may have got caught up by someone on his out lap or his in lap as well, which helped a little bit. But I had 1 lap left after, so I got it pretty right, which I was happy about.
Good stuff. Well, I will just say, out of our 2-race format is a pretty common format at Apex Rear Wing. You have to go back to Season 3 in the GT3s to find a race, a round where Xeris didn't win either of the 2. Sorry, where Xeris didn't win either of the 2 races of the night. So you've just broken a record that stood for 7 seasons. Congratulations.
I am. That's a record I'm happy to have.
And you do lead the championship by 21 points. So taking it on into Interlagos, very much look forward to seeing the battles continue onwards.
Yeah, it should be really good. Hopefully, we have a good ding-dong battle like we normally do. I didn't do well at Interlagos. I think it was the DRMs or another series we did. But in the Caterhams, he pipped me by the tiniest bit, and I know he's super strong there. So I'm going to have to put in a bit of work, but hopefully I can take it to him.
Very much look forward to it. So thank you again to all of our podium sitters for hopping in for a chat. And Matty, what an absolutely ding-dong night of racing we've had tonight.
That was fantastic stuff. Also, mildly, if not massively chaotic at times as well. And the results have been truly unpredictable. It's been fantastic to see. And as you said, Brenton Foley is now leading the championship by 21 points by virtue of the massive point differences that we have between the positions here. But that could come down as fast as it's gone, as fast as that gap has expanded. So keep your eyes peeled on that, folks. We will be going to Interlagos next week, a traditional Brazilian track where these cars would have tested their mettle, I'm sure, in the 1980s. And it's a very popular track that gets a lot of mileage in Apex Rear Wing. It'll be a great chance for everyone to test their veteran status, their knowledge, their experience around there. And it's going to be great stuff to watch. The two guys at the front of the championship battle have already eked out a lead of 115 points, or 94 points between Xeris in second and Birdo in third at the moment. We do have some pretty close championship battles throughout, but we'll keep more attention to those as the season wears on. For the time being, Brenton Foley can sit tight and sleep well knowing that he is leading the championship by 21 points. Well done to you, mate.
I'm sure he'll sleep well with a couple of Long Island iced teas in him as well. I also feel like we would be remiss not to point out that the accomplishment of Benjamin Rhodes, who has just gotten his best result in Apex Rear Wing so far, which was an 8th. So very well done to Rhodey, and hopefully hashtag Rhodium becomes a reality in the not too distant future. So that's going to be about it from us here from Surfers Paradise. We will be back next week, Wednesday night, for Interlagos, which is kind of the default test track for Apex Rear Wing. So it's a track most of our guys have got a lot of experience around. So we hope to enjoy your company once again then. Until then, I've been Madbird.
And I've been Matty. It's been great to have your company.
And we'll see you then. Have a good night.